Hello everybody, welcome all and all that are one. This is Ceremonial Witchcraft, and you know, I'm the dude that fucking talks about witchcraft and ceremonial magic and spirituality and new age and a whole fuckload of things. Today I'm gonna do something that I normally don't fucking talk about. I'm gonna say something I normally don't talk about. And I'm going to address alien contact. Holy fuck. Now, before I start, I want to say my previous stance still remains my stance. I still believe and think that the fact that we are, and this is my opinion, but over-bombarded via independent media and truth and conspiracy and I don't know, the like about aliens. When I say about bombarded, I mean there's so much info out there that, you know, I want to say maybe 10. If it's accurate, it's like 10% of it's accurate. But this is of which I want to talk about. I don't want to necessarily talk about the conspiracy. I want to tell you what I think is happening. And when I say that, this is not the only interpretation or thing happening, but this is one of many situations, interpretations, situations, I already said that. These are one of the scenarios that are being played out. Can people be getting these alien contacts and, you know, having abductions and parts from animals being taken and shit like that, and human fucking organs being harvested? Of course. I doubt it, but of course, it could totally be possible. But when it comes to everything and anything alien, the part that I believe in, son of a bitch, the part that I believe in is the contacting people. Now, I don't care if it comes in binary, if it comes in abduction, they're telling you what to do, whether it's dreams, it doesn't matter to me, okay? But that's what I care about, and that's what I want to discuss, is my opinion on alien contacting people. People being contacted by aliens and getting a message. Now, I'll probably end up repeating this later, but I don't have my notes. I wrote a bunch of shit down last night. They were pretty cool. And I think I remember almost everything off the top of my head and I'm ready to state it, but I may still wait till I get home to do so. So this is just kind of like an introduction to what I'm going to be talking about in the next few, minutes, basically, so to speak, when I run the next recording for you, so to speak. I want to focus, and I want everybody's focus to be on the message. When I regurgitate the message, I want you to focus on the message. I don't want you to focus on the fear, the facts, the invasions, or anything like that. You know, I might reference to many different people. I might reference to many different situations, whether it's about aliens or just about channeling or whatever. I want to focus on spiritual contact. Entity, that's not spiritual, let's say entity contact. Whether that comes in the form of spirits, angels, gods, Jesuses, demons, devils, energy, matter, any deities, basically, planetary energies, fairies, earth, water, fire, air spirits, ether spirits, ghosts, fucking what else, you know, all of these things, aliens, of course, aliens, reptilians, whatever the like. This is what I'm talking about, entity contact. And obviously, maybe from what I just said, you can infer and figure out that I'm going to probably say something along the lines of alien contacts. When an alien contacts a person or gives a person a message, it's nothing more than them channeling. And, well, if that's what you thought, you're right. But I'm going to continue to make my fucking point. And because people are going to be like, well, what about this? What about them going up in the craft? What about them losing time? What about this? What about that? Well, what about Jesus walking on water? Do you believe that? The point is, I'm not going to say if these things happen or not. They may happen. Hell, I've had dreams that felt fucking real. And I've also had things happen to me that I wanted my wife to believe or get a message that was for my wife, and instead of saying it's from me, my subconscious, the deity I was working with, I tell her it's her grandmother talked to me and told me that. This way, she gives it a little bit of validity, but it's bullshit. I don't do that anymore because it's not right. But the point is, I've done it. So if somebody wants to get a message across to us, well, there's a bigger chance they're gonna get a better response and a better audience and people actually listening. You know, whether it's bad or good, doesn't matter. You set that seed in their mind that it's a possibility. You know, they can immediately shoot it out, or they can be a little more open-minded and say, wait a minute, let's see what they got to say, blah, 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 blah. Now, before I go any further, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, I'm pretty sure it was my first or my second episode, I stated something, and then I think I repeated it later, like 10 or 11th episode, before I ever bought any packages, when I was doing the free 15 minutes of Spreaker, my own podcast, basically. And anybody out there who has podcasts of their own that listen to me, you know, follow me, I'll follow you back, I'll listen to your shit, you know, just hit me up, no worries. But if you don't follow me, I can't see you, so I can't do it. Now, everybody that hits me up on Instagram, I follow back. Everybody that hits me up on YouTube, I fucking subscribe to. Everybody that hits me up on, well, anywhere else, I can't get on my I can't get on my Twitter, can't get on my Facebook, can't get on my Tumblr. My wife tells me these accounts are still active, yet when I try to go on, they all tell me they're suspended. So if anybody tries to contact me via these other ways, it's not going to work. Now, if you have any of these Google things, Apple things, I'm on there. I'm signed up to like different Apple fucking shits and things through my Google email address. And always emailing me is always a good way to respond to me. But like I said, if you have anything and you want to talk about it, you want me to hear your shit, I don't care. So just follow me on one of these things. This is not a ploy for me to follow, but it's hard for me to know who the fuck you are if I don't know who the fuck you are. But anyways, so way back when I first started this fucking thing, I made a statement saying the alien thing, okay? I didn't get into the channeling and the messages. Never really got into this part of it. I've got into the whole draconian lizard, you know, queen being, you know, a lizard mother who keeps just fucking eating babies and doing shit. I got into shit like that, but I've never gotten to the channeling part. So this is going to be a pretty interesting episode. And I'm going to back the shit out of my fucking theory to the point where I don't think anybody will be able to deny what I'm saying. But before I do that, I want to simply say that I don't think this is the only theory. I don't think what I'm saying is 100% legit, and I'm not saying anybody else's claims are unlegit. So if I say that, you know, if this military dude just got a message from somewhere and, you know, he had to tell the world, well, and he didn't think nobody would take him seriously, well, it would be easier for people to take him seriously if he said, you know, I lost this amount of time driving, and then my wife even saw the UFO, and obviously your wife's going to back him up, and, you know, then you're going to make some elaborate scheme, whether it's binary or a different language that has to be interpreted or whatever the case is, to get people to believe it. And, or there's a bunch of other theories I have. But once again, they're all theories, so I have good evidence that shows that all these aliens, the ones that have messages anyways, the ones that aren't just there to scare you, but even that serves a purpose, and I'll get into that as well, but all the ones that have a message for humanity, whether it's a dark message or a light message, serve a purpose, and that's what I want to bring out today. But like I said, a long time ago, I made a statement, and it was, and I still stand by the statement, that we forgot or thought there is no God, higher power, that we're alone in this universe through science, maybe even religion pushing us so far away, but mostly probably science and just our ego and identifying ourselves, and whatever the case is. We started forgetting that God was a real person or a real entity, and I don't mean God of the Bible, I mean like whatever created us, and that, along with that, I mean also Mother Nature, the plants, the earth, the water, the air, even fire, you know. We're abusing these things. We have been abusing them. And whether or not it's true or not, because I can give you facts that say global warming is a thing, global warming is not a thing. And, you know, I can be a strong catalyst on both those sides and fight tooth and nail anybody who's for or against those things. With at least probably 50 fucking things for each side I could state. That's how much I fucking read. And I read opposing views. Same with flat versus round earth. Like, I don't even care about this shit anymore. I tend to believe it's round, but, you know, the fact that you only see one side of the moon, I'm going to get in that later too, and it has nothing to do with flat earth. But point is, none of that shit matters anymore. It'd be cool if we're kind of like a flat half dome, kind of snow globey motherfucking thing. That kind of makes sense, and that's how they depict it on things, but that's besides the point. So what I was saying was, we are so far from God, entity, spirit, spirituality, evolving and thinking about, you know, because without knowing or thinking there's a higher power than ourselves, then we tend to think we're better than everybody else. We tend to think that, you know, whatever the case is. Anyways, but how do you get people to start seeing that spirituality, and through spirituality you need to evolve? And that being said, you can't evolve if you don't believe in these things that will help you evolve. So what do? Well, if people don't think aliens exist, then you have to take a polarity that's so extreme and opposite that polarity, that view, and spin it and put it out there saying, you know, not only do aliens exist, but all the gods of old, ancient gods, they live among us. You might even be an alien. Shit like that, to the point where, you know, people start believing the base level. Like, okay, well, I don't believe all that, but, you know, they got some good arguments, or maybe some people jump on board. The more people that believe something, the more they affect other people, and the more they start believing. So, aside from maybe when it comes to getting people to believe in aliens by, you know, the justification, and because, like I said, I think the motivation for some of the really out there ideas about aliens and space stations and all that, once again, I have no idea. This could all be true, okay? But my intuition and gut still remains the same on this topic from the very beginning. But the messages that the aliens give, not every single time, because there are some out there, and I'm talking about, like, there's certain people, and I'll go through them after. I won't name any names right now because I don't have my notes and shit, but there's certain people, because, like, my buddy showed me these clips of an alien that you can clearly tell it looks fake or whatever, and, like, the body looks fake, but even some of those messages that the alien was talking about, some of the things it was saying, are legit. You know, I get this overall intuition, and when it comes to the look of the alien or the story of the alien or some of the more crazy ideas, it's like, okay, no. And that could be just programming, clashing my programming. I'm a big enough man to state that I may be wrong about this, you know, but I'm telling you right now, my intuition is more right than it's wrong. But I'm talking about, like, not everything on Gaia, but most stuff on Gaia about aliens and people that I've learned to trust and know. And even some of the ones, like, you know, I think I've talked about, what's his name? Corey Good and David Wilcox, okay? I think I made a statement not that long ago saying I liked listening to them in the beginning, you know, but the more I listen to them, the more I got the feeling that they're both telling lies about bullshit, but not about everything. So when it comes to people like that, I think the ulterior motive is more leaning towards, let's get them out of their comfort zone. No one believes in God, aliens, or anything anymore. So if we can get them to believe in it a little bit, then we're more likely to be able to evolve mankind. We got to get people to start believing in some of these crazy ideas, get the paradigm to change, get everybody's programming to change from, you know, there's no God, or, you know, if there is a God, then there's a devil, and, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Well, they get people, if you can get someone to believe in these alien ideas, whether they're crazy or they're reasonable, then it's not a far stretch to go to gods, deities, spirits, shit like that. And I think that's the reason they do it, is the overall tone is to get people to start believing in stuff that they can't see, once again. But, you know, is it, to me, like, it's easier to believe in, like, talking to, like when I said I told my wife I talked to her grandmother, which I do. And that was one of the reasons I don't do that anymore, because I've spoken to her many times, or at least an entity that claimed to be her. And I'm pretty positive it's her, or at least an aspect of her spirit, soul. But at the time when I told her that, I haven't spoken to her yet. But, fake it till you make it, baby. I said it to her. She believed it. Therefore, it started happening. I fucking manifested into reality, and it was just by doing that. My mind, my words, plus my wife's mind equals manifestation. But male and female, right? But anyways, kind of makes me think of the tarot card, the Lovers, where the dude is looking at the woman and the woman's looking up at the angel. So instead of the angel talking to the woman, and she can shout over, which is, an aspect of that card. That's what Frater talks about. He can hear from the angel too. If he would just shut up, those are Frater's words. Or stop talking long enough to listen to his wife. Well, what I just said about the whole, this little sidebar here, what I said about the fake it till you make it, basically using my words, metaphor of doing your ritual, you're speaking your ritual out loud, right? And this is all symbolic of you being in your mind. Well, this is at least how I look at it. Symbolic of me walking into my mind when I create that circle. I'm in front of that altar, using the altar tools, which is all an extension of my mind. But anyways, as a small metaphor, because like I said, magic works, but you don't necessarily have to use magic to get results. You can tell a bunch of people something, such as what I told my wife about my talking to her grandmother that passed on. 1 second, baby. Yeah. Your teddies, I don't know what you're talking about, but we'll go back and get them. So what I mean by that is simply that, because I told my wife something and she believed it, and so I said it, just like doing your ritual, saying what you want to bring into manifestation, and you're trying to connect both your minds. Basically, you're trying to talk to your female mind. Well, I use my wife's mind. I mean, she might be her conscious mind, but her faculties believed it, and it got into her subconscious mind to believe it. And, I was trying to contact her. I would use certain pictures of her and old rings and different things like this of hers to talk to her and ask her certain questions, And, whenever you do that, you need to ask questions that spirit person would know, and see if the answer's right, to know if you got the right one, or at least someone that knows. Anyways, but that's kind of what I mean. So that Lover's card, that's what it reminds me of, is, me telling my wife something, and then the angel up top being like the spirit grandmother telling, my wife, my subconscious mind back to me. That's the circle, that's the loop, that's the circuit. It just keeps going and going and going. But just another small way of how you can manifest things. And I'm not telling you to be a liar. I'm not telling you how to be a liar, or that lying is a good thing. But for things you want to bring into manifestation, absolutely. And that's why people have a hard time with money magic and healing magic, because they have a hard time with something like that. Now, I'm not saying contacting spirits is easy, or is something you can lie about and get done. I'm not saying that at all. That could be about my chart, where my plants are. It could be about where my programming is, whatever. The fact that my grandmother's a witch, I knew that since I was a kid, probably makes it easier, because like I said, I think when it comes to ancestral witch and this magic gift passed through the blood, not so much, because I think we can all do this shit. I think whether or not you have a magical grandmother, grandfather is irrelevant. If you have certain placements compared to other people, basically, if you have placements that make you more inclined to hear spirits, like the water ones or the earth ones, or you have, the watery, receptive planets, in other signs. Point is, you could have this gift whether or not your grandmother is a witch and you had that program since a kid. However, I think people that come from ancestral, call themselves ancestral witches, or from a witch bloodline, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that if the family, especially if the family was open about they had talents and gifts, open that they have witch blood in them, they can do magic, healing powers, whatever, that they come from an ancestral line. The fact that they say that over and over and over again to everybody who's in that family, and they make sure that's programmed into the people, well then that's where the powers come from. It doesn't necessarily come from the DNA. It comes from the programming, to me. Anyways, at least a majority of it, because you can kind of say and prove that there are certain things that do get passed down through blood, through heritage, through your family line. Absolutely, 100%. I know that. But I think most importantly, it's programming. Something you don't have that you want, you can program it in you to get to the extent or to the detail that you want in your mind. Might be, here or there, you might not get exactly how you want it. Like if you're 5'2" and you want to become taller, well, first you have to put it in your mind that that's fucking possible, and it is, absolutely. Fucking growth hormones. Fucking Will Smith, I forget where I saw it, but he admitted to taking growth hormones. I forget for what movie, right before he started doing superhero movies, and he was way past the age of being able to grow anymore, well into his 20s, almost at 30s, and he took growth hormones, and he grew, I don't know, something like 3 or 4 inches in his height. Growth hormone makes your bones grow. So by injecting a steroid, which is something that gives you more testosterone generally, but growth hormone is a different version of the steroid, and I don't know all the aspects of it, but by adding whatever this was to yourself, whatever this chemical is, which steroids is testosterone, is something produced by the body, just like DMT is produced by the body, just like we have opium, natural opium, something to the same thing as opium, or is the same thing as opium produced in our body. And just like when you stop taking steroids, your balls stop producing testosterone. Just like when you stop taking opiates, you go into withdrawal because your body's natural system that produces that to fight the pain is no longer doing it. Someone asked Terrence McKenna that question. Well, if you use DMT, does your body stop producing it? And he says he doesn't think so. But it hasn't been tested long enough to study. But anyways, I'm off the topic. The point I was trying to get at here was... So anyways, I got a little off topic there with the whole DMT produced by the brain and all that. And that was basically just to show you that, anything's possible, because the things that we think are impossible, such as flying, growing taller, becoming better looking, all these things, by telling you that, steroids can make your bones grow so you can actually grow height, and steroids are nothing more than testosterone, which is produced by your body, just like opioids. If people think it's hard to get off addiction, well, it's not impossible. Now, I can't tell you exactly, or if there's a spell, or if there's a flower or a pill out there that starts your opiate system, which is something I've been recently very intrigued by, because obviously everybody on here knows my past. I'm very open about the fact that I was an ex-addict too. Well, not opium, but the line of drugs that come from opium. I've never once done heroin in my life, but I've done everything that breaks down as morphine in your body, and that's from codeine to fucking fentanyl and so much other things in between. And I am proud to say that I'm on Suboxone, which, if you don't know, is a opiate that has the opposite within the pill itself. When someone is having a overdose and they're going to die, so whether it's an injection or the nasal spray or any other way, a dissolving pill under the tongue, naloxone is the drug you administer to someone who's having an overdose, and they give these things free, at least here in Canada anyways, to anybody who's on it or anybody who has an addict that lives with them. So if you know someone and you're worried about it, well, go pick one up at your local methadone or pharmacy. But that drug, naloxone, and I've seen it in front of me many times. It's never happened to me. I've never had to have it. But it's one of the reasons why most addicts go on methadone versus Suboxone, because methadone is a stronger opiate, way stronger than opiate than Suboxone. Suboxone has an opiate blocker in it. I can't get high off opiates if I wanted to. It blocks it. So it's very pointless for me to do it. Even more than that, Suboxone doesn't make you high. It doesn't get you high. I find there might be a slight energy burst or energy time period within the first 4 hours of taking it, but after that, not so much. And the point of all that is to say that I've seen people that were about to die come out of about to die, like they're about to stop breathing, they're already turning blue, like it looks bad, you know, like almost shitting themselves dead, okay? And this stuff takes effect, right? Nasal spray is what I saw, and an injection is what I saw. And when they take that, they come out of it angry that, because they're in automatic withdrawal. That's how powerful this naloxone is. Whether you inject it or put it through the nose, it's kind of the same. The nose, you have to use a lot more to get it through there, but you're forcing it through the airwaves versus the bloodstream having to carry it through, depending on where it has to go to first. Anyways, point of all this is, especially the person's still breathing, so it's arguable which route's faster. It's not what I'm trying to talk about, man. But anyways, the point of all that is the naloxone is right in my pill. It's the same thing that if you give somebody who was about to have an overdose, who was in this euphoric state, maybe even having a DMT trip because they're dead at some point, and they come back to life, or they prevent the death from happening, they are very upset and angry because, you know, they're in withdrawal now. So they could have taken a lot of fentanyl, which is powerful, probably more powerful than methadone, and, you know, oxys combined, you know, I mean, it's not a really good scale, but you know what I'm trying to get at. And for that naloxone just to take them out of all of that they were just experiencing, enough to stop their heart or whatever causes of the overdose, different for different people, but so that's in the pill I take. Therefore, you know, with every dose of it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird counteraction that I take, because I'm taking an opiate, and, you know, that could be just for my mind to know that, okay, there's an opiate in me, I'm not going to be dope sick, I'm not going to have any withdrawal symptoms. But at the same time, I'm getting a shot of naloxone, which should counter that, because the naloxone you give someone having an overdose is not the same amount as they took. Like, you don't go find out how much this person took and you get the right amount of naloxone in them. No, these things are kind of like a universal dose. So maybe because it's 2 milligrams to every 8 milligrams of naloxone to fucking Suboxone. So that I don't know if that means that takes away all of it, and maybe I can be clean right now and it's just all in my mind. I wouldn't put that fucking past it. But all I'm trying to say is I've been recently very interested when I found out that opium is something that your body does on its own, makes on its own. It's part of our pain management, nervous system, whatever. And I haven't done a tremendous amount of research in it, and it's surprisingly hard to find this stuff out, because I never knew this. I knew about steroids, I knew about DMT, and I know about the cannabis system and shit like that. I know about a lot of different drugs, but I never thought opioids were one of those. And another interesting fact, one of the reasons why people are drawn and like opiates so much, and it's so hard to come off of, is because it's so close to our own natural system. It works very well with the body. You know, after doing opium, your body stops producing it, so you probably go through a type of withdrawal, and, you know, your body stops producing it, so that's why you probably feel everything. Between that and the fact that you go from not feeling any pain to feeling all pain, well, that heightens up the pain. So I guess what I'm trying to say about that is I've been very interested in trying to find a way to get mine started, to restart, or if there's something out there that can restart our system in our body that starts the opium system. Like I said, I haven't done a bunch of research on this, and it's very occult and suppressed knowledge, and I just mean hidden by that. But yeah, anyways, that's something I've been looking into very well, kind of sporadically, but at the same time I'm very interested in finding that information. So yeah, if I ever find the secret to if there's something out there that can restart the system that shuts down when you start taking opiates, I'll let you know. Maybe you guys will be the first to fucking know what it is and how to do it and who's doing it. But like the car that was made out of water, or ran on water, that somehow made take the nitrogen and hydrogen, or the oxygen and hydrogen out of the water, and it ran on that. And you'd be like, that's fucking crazy. Well, whenever the spaceships apparently go up to space, they're using O2 to to push because there's no air in space apparently. So the oxygen actually, the air, oxygen, O2, well, O2, H2O, that's water, right? 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. So there's oxygen present in water, but there's 2 hydrogen as well. That's why hydro is normally water. Because you need 2 of those to every 1 molecule of air. That's why whenever you're looking at the elements, well, air and water are opposed to each other. And the people think fire and water are opposites. Well, they kind of are. But there is no opposites according to the Kabbalion. There are no opposites. But technically, when you're dealing with opposing forces, opposing elements, well, air and water oppose each other, and earth and fire oppose each other. But they can also work in synchronicity, and those, whenever you get them working for you together, connect your minds, whatever, you connect your thought with your emotion, you make manifestation. When you connect your 2 minds together, you get channeled information. I can keep rhyming, baby, but that's not my resonation. No, it doesn't make sense. But anyways, the point I'm trying to get at here is if you take fire and water, well, they kind of are opposites. Now, they're beside each other, but they don't go good together. They clash together, right? You can't make a fire in water, and you can't sustain a water with some fire. Whereas air and fire keeps the fire going. Air and earth, well, the fire can burn earth, but the earth can put out the fire. So they work together. Air and fire work together. Air, fire, and earth work well together. Now, it's like I've said this many times, to put out a fire, sometimes earth works better than water. Sometimes water works better than earth. And if you add the 2 together, if you put earth and water together, well, then you have a hell of a solution. And I mean solution as in like a liquid solution. But it's also a solution to your problem. There's a double meaning there. But the point I'm trying to get at is fire and water don't work well with each other. You know, if you add the water to the fire, you know, as long as you do it right, it's going to go out. If you add fire to water, well, the water's going to win. You know what I mean? So, and the fire's big enough, the water can't even stop it. So that's what I mean by opposites. I don't necessarily mean that they're the opposite version of the same thing, because that's what opposites actually are. Opposites are the opposite polarity of the same thing, the extreme polarities of the same thing, whether you're talking about temperature, talking about age, talking about whatever, you know. Is there a difference between a baby and an elderly person? Hell no. They're both people, both humans. They're both going to live. They both have hair, eyes, skin, soul, whatever. But anyways, so I forgot what the fuck I was going to get into about all that. I was just fucking shooting shit out my ass, but there was a reason I was saying all that shit. And there was a damn good reason I was saying it. And now I can't fucking remember why I was saying it. Anyways, I'll just stop there trying to fucking talk about something I'm not even supposed to talk about. Fucking shit. I get on these little rants and rambles and I get lost in them. But the point I'm trying to say is, like the dude, I forget his name, but he invented a car that ran on water. And I was just trying to show that you can run a car on oxygen and, you know, hydrogen molecules if they break them down right and make it move. And I think it was like 4 fucking gallons to make you move across. Well, it was a big significant part of the land, the country, but I can't remember how far it was. And he said if you don't have water, you can put snow in there. If you don't have a natural source of water like that, like she said, if you didn't have a natural source of water, you could use snow. If you didn't have snow, you could use salt water. So once again, I've taken 10 volts and 12 volt batteries and added salt into alkaline already water, and not alkaline. Well, I made it alkaline by adding the salt, but I put the salt in the places where the acid was in the battery. Removed all that shit out, cleaned it out, and then did that, and then grabbed magnets and left it there with the magnets having like creating some kind of charge. Basically, when you touch it, you get a little vibration, kind of the way you can put salt water and some copper wires and 2 magnets, one below the glass and one inside the glass, with all the wires touching the light bulb basically coming out, and you get that light bulb to shine. Doesn't matter, 60 watt, 100 watt, I did it. So I used that concept that lights up the light bulb, and then I put, after I refilled all the little places where you put the acid would have went, or where I put the salt water, I filled them all up with salt water, and then I capped them, and then I fucking gave it a charge, put some energy into it basically, because I have the matter, I had water there, I had earth there, which is salt. The idea was already done, and I had to get some passion in there, and some energy basically, which is kind of like water, the emotion, but in this sense, using that in a different way. That'd probably be akin to like your blood, your passion, whatever. But anyways, I'm off the topic again. So, like the guy that made the car that ran on water, the information that would help people stop using opiates, stop the epidemic of overdose, opiates, fentanyl, rappers talking about being cool, more kids trying it and getting hooked because, it's not pot. I mean, even coke is easier to come off of. And it's not easy to come off of, but it's easier than heroin. Heroin is up there with alcohol. Alcohol is the only other one that would be just as bad, if not worse. And, I only say that because, alcohol is legal, which is fucked right up because our human bodies are very strong. Wait, first, before I get onto this thought, I'll finish off my thought. Like the dude that made the car that runs on water, we, to find the knowledge that whatever we need to do to start our opioid system, our pain management system, that has been fucked up from taking opioids. Wherever that information is, or whoever discovered it, or wherever it is not easy to find. And they may have even killed it, like they killed that poor fucker. He said he was poisoned. I wasn't there. I don't know. I'm just giving you the information. He said he got poisoned, or they poisoned me. His brother found him. This is right around like the 50s or 60s. I want to say 50s, but it might have been the 60s. Point is, if you do something and fuck somebody over, and that somebody hasn't dealt with their dark side and is in a fearful state, well, you need to watch the fuck out, because most of the world isn't like that. Even though people haven't fucked with their dark side or dealt with it or challenged it, most people aren't in a fear scarcity mindset that they will go to that place. They'll sit by, watch, and complain about it. But then every once in a while you have somebody who is a dangerous person and will do something and has had enough, and then this is how it happens. But anyways, the thought I was going to climb onto, maybe it's best that I don't reopen it, because I'm only half remembering what I was trying to fucking say, but sorry, I'm having a hard time thinking right now. Just waiting for my wife to come out with the pizza for the kids and get home and get to my girls and my boys. So alcohol, the human body is an amazing thing, and it can adapt to anything. Now, as it adapts to stuff, or just because it adapts to something, just because you can smoke a lot of weed before you get high, or do a lot of coke or opiates, and you have to keep doing more, or because you're a lightweight or whatever the case is, or because you drink every day and you have to keep drinking to get rid of the shakes and whatever, it doesn't mean the alcohol's not deteriorating your body. The difference between alcohol and opiates, as far as I can tell in the research I have done already before my awakening and now during my awakening, is that people live, if you compare your typical someone who drinks and to somebody who's on opiates long term, then there's a bigger chance that the person on opioids will outlive the person on alcohol. And you could say, well, how come when someone is dying in the hospital, they give them morphine, the heart can handle it? Well, that person probably wasn't using morphine the whole fucking life. And then whenever their heart is weak and they're about to die, they give them morphine to suppress that. I mean, it's just overwhelming. But, alcohol would probably do the same fucking thing to that person. It's just something you don't give them because, you want something that's actually going to get rid of the pain and not make you more depressed. And alcohol is a stimulant for the first little bit, then becomes a depressant. And alcohol is legal. Imagine that. Why is that? Well, I don't know. Everything goes to, we have too many people here, so let them drink and kill each other and drive around and, deteriorate their bodies faster. But at the same time, when more people drink, the more they fuck. So that's not actually a really good fucking long-term solution. But anyways, what I'm trying to say here is your body can get used to the opioids and it can get used to alcohol. I'm not trying to say the opioids won't make any damage. If you abuse it, take too much, absolutely you're doing damage, okay? Especially if you are snorting them or injecting them and shit like that, popping them too, because it's not the way your body is supposed to produce these things. So no matter what, whether it's getting filtered by your liver, whether it's going through your lungs, whether it's going in your veins, whether it's going up your nose, I'm sure these have lesser degrees, which ones are better and which ones are worse for you, but it's not the way it's meant to be taken. So there's still a risk. However, it's not foreign to your body. It's actually very much in a symbiotic relationship with your body already. It recognizes it. Whereas alcohol is a poison. Our bodies don't produce alcohol. They produce like ammonia or piss, but we're getting rid of that, for a reason too. Which, can be argued that, even that can be used to clean things off, disinfect, whatever. Sorry, I thought I heard my wife say my name, but I guess I'm wrong. I guess I'm just fucking hearing things. So anyways, the overall point I'm trying to say there is just that alcohol is a poison, and therefore, even if your body gets used to it, it perceivingly makes you feel better because, you're going through a withdrawal and you take a beer or a shot and then you feel great. And you're like, well, obviously it hurts me more to go off this shit. And absolutely, same with opiates, same effect, right? That's why they're very similar. But with opioids, you get depressed when you're not on them versus alcohol, you can get depressed. Well, alcohol, I think you get depressed both when you're off of them and if you get too far when you're on them. Versus opioids, when you're on them, you're not depressed at all. And it's only when you're off them that you become depressed. You know what I mean? When you're on them, everything's okay, And, it puts you into a trance-like state instead of just falling asleep. People think they hallucinate on it, but I'm pretty positive, unless it's like a triple dose that, right before you OD, maybe it is you ODing, getting a DMT release, I don't know. But people in the hospital that are dying, they get administered enough morphine, tend to say they see somebody, a loved one, an ex-friend, who knows, angels sometimes at the end of their bed or in the room. And I've been on the nod, and that's in quotations, air quotations, but nonetheless quotations. And that just means because you don't feel so much pain, your body's like kind of almost shutting down, trying to go to sleep. It's like, oh, we feel good, let's go to sleep. You know what I mean? It's like that relaxing, induced state. And I don't know exactly everything about this line of thinking either, but your eyes tend to roll back into your head and, you're like falling asleep in and out. It's called the nod. That's one of the signs. When someone's eyes are half open, they can't keep them awake, even though, they're drinking coffee. And, this happens often. They say they can't stay awake. Well, it's a good sign they might be doing some opiates. But that I've had conversations with my wife in the past when I was in a semi-nodded fucking state like that, whereas I'm half in the dream world and I'm half in this world. And it's real. It feels real. Both of them feel real simultaneously. So I can see why in ancient times there was opium use, especially in coordination with marijuana. I could see how that could be beneficial for a lot of different things. But even then, I think it was like 1400 or 1300, Terence McKenna said, so according to him, that this was used in times past. But all that being said, alcohol will keep deteriorating your body as you drink it. Make no mistake, it only has the one way of entry. So, if I can't inject anything into my veins, I got a weird phobia about that. But, if you are to continue doing heroin, the like, on a mild enough substance, taking yourself off of it. I think it was Max Egan I heard it from, and I may have played it already, but methadone And this is the older version of methadone, not the new methadoses or new methadones, and I think they've made it better. But methadone stops your testosterone as well. I don't know if that happens with all opiates or not, but it kind of makes sense now that I think about it. When you take too much steroids, your balls stop producing testosterone. Testosterone is a part of the pain management system of our body, you know, and not necessarily that you get released testosterone when you're in pain, but you can use anger and stuff to not try to feel your pain, mask your pain, deal with pain, shit like that. But there's more intricate and better ways to say that. I just can't find the words right now, and I think I'm about to go in and see what the fuck's taking so long with my pizza. But just to give it a short version right now, this is not what the show's about, but I'm just trying to talk and see where I can go and see what ideas pop out before I get home, get my book, and actually say what I want to say. Man, it doesn't take long for me to forget ideas. Fucking Christ. Oh man, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, I was Max Egan, and he talked about his father. Apparently being on morphine until he was 90, and when he was on methadone, there was bad stuff happening, and he wasn't as healthy or whatever. So he was on a controlled dose. And there was a doctor working with him. He was an old war vet that had to be on it for something that happened in, I want to say Vietnam, but I don't remember. Point is that it was proven and told by his doctor, you know, whether you think doctors are corrupt or not, something else I can get into, because obviously there's corrupt every fucking thing. People, plants, animals, spirits, whatever. And there's good everything. But anyways, so the point of that was my point is just to say that, you know, it's better for you to take probably your opiates off the streets versus the old version of methadone at one time. And it's way better for your body if you're going to be hooked on something, not that you should be or want to be, but your opiates are better than your alcohol. There's a reason you're not supposed to mix them both. But the testosterone thing, the reason why methadone shuts off your testosterone, and I don't know if opiates per se do it, because I don't think mine is low, but they give testosterone shots to people on methadone, but not on Suboxone, so that's why I think mine doesn't. But anyways, I don't know what and how that would cause that to happen, but if your opioid system is part of your pain management system, and so is your testosterone, well, if you're stopping your opioid system from using, that might trigger obviously something for your testosterone levels to stop working. So there could be a reaction there, and obviously we don't know. I don't know anyways yet, and I'll try to figure that out for you and say that maybe at a later date. But I think that's as far as I'm going to go with this whole fucking opium talk and shit like that for now. And I'm going to get back to the topic at hand, which is the aliens. Now, I've already said, and tried to make my point clear that I think most important part about alien contact is that it's channeling, and that to me there's no distinction. All right, so before I get into the alien stuff, because I have an episode out there about our episode saying that I'll never talk about conspiracy stuff, giving you reasons why, and then getting into it a little bit, I feel like I should tell you why I was even looking into it, because, you know, someone who tells people to not look into fear-based media and shit like that, and then having an episode about something I consider to be fear-based media and mostly just going to hurt your manifestation and shit like that, and not serve you. I still believe in that. If I haven't said that yet, or tried to say it but haven't got around to it because I keep getting lost in other ideas, if, you know, I haven't made that clear yet, that is my stance on most of this stuff. That's why I say if you do listen to it, you know, go say something to the effect of possibly, you know, say something like, I don't accept this as truth. I reject, don't scratch that first one I just said. I reject, banish, and deny these thoughts as truth. I do not accept this as a paradigm or a program.
sorry, not don't, why do I keep saying that? I reject this as a program or a paradigm. I reject this as a potential, I reject this, you know, something that, especially if it's about, you know, like an attack or something like that, or aliens fucking adopting kids or something like that. Well, don't do it, you know. But there's a message there, whether it's good or bad, there's a message there. Because a lot of people like to think there's evil elites and shit like that, you know. I'm not going to tell you no, because there's a lot of really good people in the world, therefore, you know, there's a really good, most people think it's got to be one way or the other. If there's good, there's got to be bad. There's God, there's got to be hell. And I don't think that way. However, I do know balance is needed. So for everybody who's really good, there's a good chance there could be a lot of really bad people. You know, I don't, anyways, I'm not going to keep going with that because I'm trying to fucking say something here and I can't keep going around it. But, you know, if you have to watch this shit, then try to protect yourself like that. And, you know, if you see something, don't put emotion to it, you know. Write it down. You know, you can always say, I reject putting any emotion in any of these thoughts, something like that. You know, you don't want to fuck up your manifestation. And in all honesty, like I said, if you're going to try to manifest, just as an example, money or healing, then you need to watch shit that talks about magical healing and different ways to do magical healing or magic money or money magic, and you know, and listen to testimonies. But if that makes you think about magic you performed, well then yeah, you shouldn't be watching those things. You should turn those things off if they're making you think about it. But if you can actually watch those without thinking about it, then yeah, you're golden. You're fucking golden. You can watch that. It's gonna help create a paradigm, a program in your mind that, you know, tells your mind that this shit is real. It's not necessarily that, it's just you're putting in information to your subconscious saying that these people did it, so you can do it. You're no different than these people, you know what I mean? Anyways.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? So I'm going to pick up where I left off, and that was just, I was going to give you a little history, or not history. I'm going to tell you why I started watching the alien shit, just because, like I said, I don't want you to think I'm a hypocrite or fake, or, you know, say one thing, but then if I have no more ideas, you know, like say don't watch alien stuff until, you know, you're depolarized enough that you can actually watch it without, you know, being fearful and shit like that, then whenever I don't have enough views or ideas, then I end up talking about it anyways, you know, like, so I don't want anybody to think that. So I'll tell you what prompted the whole thing about me doing that now. Before I get started, I want to set the tone starting now. Everything you heard prior to right now was previous to Saturday. Today is now Saturday, the 16th, or 15th, sorry, the day after Valentine's Day, and yesterday was, you know, I got a big family. It's 4 people, one being a 3-year-old, so that shit's not easy, right? And then, you know, my one boy's got ADHD, and my oldest boy has epilepsy, and both of them aren't seeing their real father. I'm their stepfather, so they're going through some shit. So shit's not easy for them, you know. And I get that, and it can't be easy. And as much as I was their age once, I've had my father and my mother, so I can't relate to any of that. You know, my wife might be able to relate to that because she had a stepfather/father and half siblings and all that, so... But I have trouble relating to certain things, and I do my best to understand, and you know. But we had a whole bunch of different fights and bad things happen recently. Not bad things, but inner fighting and being mean within the kids, between the kids. Where the point, yeah, it's just last night was Valentine's Day, and the one boy didn't let us know where he was. He was with his girlfriend. They were kind of hiding because they wanted more time, because they knew, you know, a 12-year-old shouldn't be out across town on the other end of town at Tim Hortons. You know, I'm in the fucking northwest and he was in the southeast, and you know, I get it, because if he would have called us and said, hey, can I stay a little bit later, we probably would have said no, because we had plans which got ruined anyways, but shit like that. And the oldest had plans to go to the movies, but we found out that he kicked his brother out at 8 a.m. in the morning before school that same day, because he was upset he didn't get to go to school early that day. Because they have, when me and my wife are both on days, they have to alternate putting my daughter Savannah on the bus. And they both don't like doing that because they both like getting to school on time. So Owen had done it once or twice already this week. Austin, this is the second time he had to do it. Or actually, no. There was only 3 days of school for basically Savannah this week, because because she had a strike day and had a snow day. So Austin did it twice and Owen did it once, which Austin's the oldest. He's supposed to do it, but he woke up, he was very upset because Owen was the one telling him. And we don't know how Owen told him, but then he's like, fine, then leave. If you don't leave now, I'm leaving. Kept saying that over and over again. At 8:03 a.m. and Owen left. And, you know, Owens has specific rules that he can't get to school before a certain time because, you know, the more unstructured time that he has, the more likely he is to get in trouble. Anyways, so, you know, while his girlfriend was at the house is when I found that out. And my wife had already bought movie tickets for them to go to the movies. And at the same time, I didn't want to lose my mind and, you know, yell in front of her and ruin her Valentine's Day. She didn't do anything wrong. I felt I could not say anything. I could just, you know what, no. I want him to realize that if he does something wrong, if his girlfriend comes over, it's not going to be a way to save himself. He can't, you know, hide behind her. Like, well, if she's here, Corey won't say anything. You know, because I know that's how my family kind of was. My dad would say little things that I would know he was mad that, you know, people around would be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would he say that? So, but anyway, so, and then that caused me and my wife to fight because anytime she goes above and beyond and I think she's being too hard on somebody for whatever reason, you know, I tell her. And whenever I'm being too hard or she thinks I'm being too hard on them, she tells me. I made my points, you know, Owen. Anyways, I just want to set that tone that, you know, things are not rocky. You know, me and my wife aren't really necessarily fighting, so things aren't terrible or anything. But, you know, it's not like I woke up very excited and happy today. I'm going to do my best and not let it judge my view, but once again, and which is basically kind of what this is going to be, not what it's going to be about, but when I explain how and why I think no matter what the person who has the spiritual experience or has a channeling incident or whatever we want to call it, whenever something talks to it, sends it a message, channels through it, it all depends on its programming and also its mood of, you know, time and day. And because you can channel lower entities, you can channel higher entities, you know, and most people don't even know they're doing it. People like to take credit for their own ideas, and, you know, I try my best not to do that because I want the ideas to keep coming. But anyways, so that's just the preface of, or that's just to set the tone and state. If I'm a little darker than usual, not so happy and all loving lady, which, you know, I try not to be either, because that's not a polarity that's not going to help anybody either. But this is why. So if I'm not my usual self, well, this is why. I'm not going to try to be a dick or mean or come off mean, because if I am in a bad mood, then whatever side I don't agree with is going to get shit on more. Whatever side I think is more ludicrous or lying, instead of saying, you know, I think I got a point, and, you know, trying to make it not sound so bad, I'll just straight up shit on them. I want to say it out loud right now that that's not what I want to do. That's not my intention. If I do that, please don't judge me and think I'm disbalanced. It's just rough night last night, rough morning. You know, everybody has bad days, good days. Shit happens. It's not the end of the world, and you know, it'll pass. But, you know, I just don't like the direction I see my boys continuously going. And anyways, but that's besides the point. So, I think it was last Sunday, I woke up, great mood, happy, and my wife singing along in the car, everything's fine, perfect, okay? And then around, I don't know, noon to 1 o'clock, started getting some anxious feelings, worrying, so on and so forth, you know, and I didn't really know what the fuck's going on, and trying to change my mind, but I didn't want to listen to music anymore, which I was doing all morning and having a great time doing. And then I decided I wanted to watch something on YouTube, and, you know, take ideas for the next week's show, this show that I'm doing now. And, you know, I couldn't find anything on there either. And just, so I started cleaning. My wife got really sleepy. She fell asleep. The girls went upstairs to play. I kept trying to keep them happy and playing upstairs while I tidied up downstairs while I tried to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. And I just couldn't figure it out. I'm anxious all day, and then kept chalking it up to, okay, well, it's, you know, Sunday, tomorrow I work, it's day shift, you know, I don't get I don't take my pills till after work when it's day shift, so I have energy when I come home, but it's not as easy as working that break, like, I take my pills before when I'm on afternoons, right before work, so that makes it a hell of a lot more easier for whatever reason. Most likely it's all in my head, but, you know, and I'm not such a morning person. That could be most of it too. But anyways, so I keep chalking it up to that. But when I laid down on the couch, for some reason, I put on Linda Moulton and all the bunch of alien conspiracy stuff. And it's like, I know better than that. I don't watch that shit. But for some reason, I just... You know, and, oh, sorry, even prior to that, I was looking at the coronavirus stuff, and I was looking into Woodward and all the fear-based stuff. And, you know, at that point, I was still okay because I was, you know, oh, that's a lie, or that's not true. Oh, man, that's just straight up passing fear. And just, you know, I was still coherent enough to look at it objectively. And, you know, part of the reason I say stuff like that is so I don't take any of that shit on, right? But anyways, but by the time I started watching the alien stuff, I could no longer do that. I was having trouble doing that, or wasn't even trying to do that. I was starting to fall asleep too, which is kind of dangerous, or not dangerous, but not something I like to do. I don't like to fall asleep to any conspiratorial stuff because I don't want to adapt or take on those ideas as my own. And, you know, I use my conscious mind to protect my subconscious mind when I'm awake. But when I'm asleep, you know, I have to put up circles. I have to make sure I have my talismans, amulets, wards, talismans, amulets. Can have some protections, depending on how they're done and what they're made for. But generally, wards or for protecting. But, you know, there's certain things you can use amulets and talismans to do that'll technically protect you, but they're not specific to protecting. Maybe I'll make an episode about that too, and go through and use pictures, maybe put pictures on my on the picture or whatever, or just even anywhere, a video just showing them, so that whenever you hear what I'm talking about, you can actually see it. You know, some of them are as basic as just a square piece of fucking tin with some carvings on them, to, you know, more elaborate things I've made, soldered together, welded together, forged, you know, like going all out. So it is what it is. Some are for specifically making things happen, drawing things to me, which is kind of talisman, amulet. Even like your mojo bag can do that too and shit like that. And like I said, a ward is like a defense. But anyway, so that's not something I would do, is watch that prior to going to bed, but for some reason I really wanted to. And, you know, when I came to and woke up, I started hearing that message that I've been talking about. It's a channeled message from I think it was some military dude. Linda Moulton called him CJ, but that was just to keep him anonymous. So, and from there, it woke me right up, and I'm like, whoa, that message is important. That message means something. And I haven't been able to get off the alien thing since. I keep being drawn back to it. And from Young to other gurus that talk about your dark side, fears and stuff like that. I wouldn't say aliens is a fear of mine, but because I'm very adamant about not looking at it, watching it, and, you know, because I don't want that stuff to manifest, and I'm trying to manifest other things. So why would I watch aliens when I'm trying to manifest, you know, passions, life, money, health, you know, transformation and shit? I'm going to watch alien shit that may or may not be true, and, you know, just to put me in fear. But in the same sense, it's like, well, maybe this is part of some dark side training that, you know, I have to be able to become more and above, and be able to watch this without getting my emotions involved, and be able to look at it objectively and draw conclusions from it, you know, and all this. But anyways, so this is what I'm thinking at the time. But then Monday rolls around, and I'm supposed to be on the day shift, but I end up calling my boss to switch to an afternoon shift, give him an excuse. Well, it wasn't an excuse, it was true what I told him, but still, you know, I had to tell him something because I couldn't go in. I really couldn't go in. I had the anxiety feeling times 20. And I'm like, well, man, it can't be just my fucking not having my pills, but, you know, at this point I don't even know. So I just call and ask him if I can go in afternoons because of, well, I had swollen glands, which I did. I had to get antibiotics, which I did, and I barely used. And I'm happy to say my swollen glands are gone, and the infection's gone, and all the snot that looked gross and all that shit's all gone too. So it's great. But anyway, so I think it's about 3 hours before I go into work. And, you know, it's still watching alien shit, and, you know, I haven't gone to get my medication yet from my clinic. I'm waiting right till before work because I'm like, I can go get it now and I'll feel a lot better now, but if I don't do it before work, then this feeling might come back while I'm at work. That's the last thing I want, is to feel this while I'm at work, and, you know. So what I end up doing is waiting until, I think it's about, you know, 12 or 11 at this point, and I'm planning on going probably around 1, 12 the very latest. And so I get a call from my clinic, and I knew I had an appointment the following day on a Tuesday, so I'm like, well, they may be calling to remind me, so I answer it, and it's one of my buddies, the buddy I talk about pretty often. I don't want to say his name right now, but, you know, if you've listened to me, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. And yeah, he got picked up by the police for some things he did and that he never went to court for, and other things. And, you know, on the Sunday, I had a feeling that, you know, I should have went and saw him, because I've been driving him to and from places because of his circumstance. But, you know, I just wasn't feeling right after everything that happened, and, you know, I just never really assessed it. And, you know, every other day that week I already drove him, so, you know, I was like, well, you know, it wasn't, I don't know if it was a cold day or a hot day that day, I don't remember. But anyways, he ended up getting picked up by the police that day. And around 12:30, I think he said. And, you know, like I said, my anxiety and depressive state and all that shit started roughly around fucking 1. And not anymore. He doesn't watch alien stuff anymore, but he used to watch that stuff quite a bit. He's very much into that, and he very much believes that aliens exist, as do I, but not in the same premise. I think any interdimensional spiritual being is technically probably what most people would think of as aliens. Archangels are angels, saints, maybe not so much. Aliens as deities. Archangels might be, but for the most part, I just think, you know, if there is such beings that came down and spoke to people, created us, like the Palladians or the Anunnaki or the gods of the Bible or whatever the case is, okay? If my egregore theory that we created them all within our mind is wrong, let's say, and there is some truth to these beings and whatever the case is, then you know, that's what I think the story. I'm having trouble because, like I said, my mind is not quite correct today, but I really want to get something done because it's Saturday, and, you know, I'm only like not even halfway done my material. So anyways, but so to me, when I hear that he got picked up, all this starts making sense. It's like, okay, well, I was definitely picking up his emotions. I mean, I'm not lying. When I said I was hanging out with the guy every day, I mean, I would go pick him up either on my way to work or on my way home. So I wouldn't necessarily waste gas and shit like that. And, you know, give him a ride and see if he needs to go places. Or if my wife sent me out to go do something, I'd say, hey, I gotta go here. Do you need to go? If he did, take him. If he didn't, whatever. Because, you know, he doesn't want to be caught walking. But it was a Sunday. I figured, you know, I didn't figure anything, but you would think the cops wouldn't do much on a Sunday. You know, he was on a bike. His clinic's not too far from his home, but he got picked up. And he was feeling all the same emotions around the same time I was. Or rather, I felt all the same emotions that he was feeling. And, you know, so when I talk about this empathy shit and all that, it's not a fake fucking thing. It's a real fucking thing. And, you know, not to get on any antidepressants or anxiety meds, but I think what those medications do is straight up suppress this. And, you know, that can be very beneficial if you're very empathic and you are stunted by everybody else's emotions, especially if you don't know what's going on. I think it can be beneficial, but as a long-term solution, I don't think it's a good one. I don't think it's good not to feel stuff, because if you don't feel things, how are you going to heal? How are you going to change? How are you going to realize what's wrong? If things keep happening to you and you don't have the emotions to tell you, no, this is not right, well, then you have no guiding system to go by, you know? So maybe necessarily picking up emotions when you're around people that want to do drugs or drink or hurt people or, you know, or bad people. Yeah, okay, that's not good. And if you don't know how to protect yourself, well, then maybe a fucking pill to suppress you picking up those emotions is not a bad idea. But there's a hell of a lot of easier ways to go about doing that. and the fact that you're just picking up other people's emotions, you know, is one of many reasons, you know. And I think that the fact that everybody's on social media and the studies, facts, experiments have proven that most people, like, it's been proven that social media makes you feel worse about yourself after watching it than better. Always, almost always, like 9 times out of 10. Absolutely. It makes you feel worse about yourself, about seeing everybody who's faking being happy on there, and you realize all the things you don't have because you're comparing yourself to everybody you see. And so from that to like the video games that kids think, you know, kids see guys on YouTube talking about how great things are, right? And it's just to get likes and shit like that, and to promote things and advertising, right? So they're doing that, and the kid goes and buys the game, and they're happy because, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. You know, to them, it's like, I'm gonna play this awesome game. Everybody's talking about, I'm gonna have so much fun. And their mind subconscious is like, yes, finally, this is the answer to all these shitty problems and, you know, this dark feeling and shit like that. This is what we've been chasing. We finally got it. Everything's gonna be solved. And they play it. You know, they can have fun, but you know, it's not fulfilling. The subconscious is like, okay, well, this is fun and intriguing, and at first it stimulates them, but then, you know, once they get to a certain level they can't beat, or, you know, and if they give up, I mean, if they're always playing and they're always stimulated, you know, then that's great, but there are going to be points where they're stuck, upset, but it's not necessarily fulfilling. It's fulfilling on one very small level, basically. So if the things that we think are fulfilling are, you know, buying stuff, we go buy it and say, okay, not fulfilled. Go play a video game. Okay, get as far as we can. Okay, no longer fulfilled. Oh, I want some sugar. I want some sweets. Okay, no longer fulfilled. I want to go drink. Next day, no longer fulfilled. Point is, these things don't fulfill you, you know, and no one knows that. They think, okay, well, there's something out there that's going to make everything feel okay or be okay. And, you know, that's part of the reason I think everybody goes to these medications, because they have this overall feeling that things aren't okay. You mix that with feeling other people's emotions and your own emotions, and thinking that everybody's life is better than yours, and, you know, just it's brutal. Not to mention all the sacrifice and hard times you got to go through in life. You know, none of this shit's easy. So I'm not talking bad about anybody going on antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds. I think it's in the same ballpark as meat versus vegan versus vegetarianism. What works for me may not work for you. So somebody who might need antidepressants and they work well on might fuck somebody else up, you know. And, you know, you really got to watch what you're taking and ask your doctor questions before just jumping on something, especially if you're the type of person that forgets to take your medication, because they may not be a narcotic, but they affect brain chemistry, and you don't want to fuck with your brain chemistry lightly. You know, you don't want to take something that starts changing your brain chemistry for something that you think you want. Then once you achieve it, if it's just like everything else I just mentioned, it's not actually something you want, well, you can't just stop taking the pills, because you're not really going to notice that things are fucked up. But everybody around you is going to notice that things are fucked up, that you're not the fucking saint. And you're going to think everybody else is crazy, when everybody else is going to be like, well, no, straight up, you're crazy. And that's a hell of a place to be, if you think everyone around you is crazy when you're really the one going through something, you know. And I think everybody experiences that to a certain degree. And if your ego is not in check, if your ego kind of rules you, well, then you're going to be upset and have a hard time with that. But if you have your ego in a certain amount of check, and you can kind of look at it from an outside view and be like, oh, you know, maybe they're right. And, you know, I'm not just going to assume they're right, but I'm not just going to assume I'm right. I'm going to look into this. Then, you know, you'll be okay if you can do that. But if you can't do that, then, yeah, you're just going to think everybody else is fucked and you're right and everybody else is wrong. And, you know, that's the wrong way to be. But anyways, back to what I'm speaking about. So this is where all the alien stuff comes from. My buddy got taken in, and I was feeling his emotion, or so I believe. Anyways, there's no way to prove that, except for, you know, anyways, there's no way to prove that. So I was feeling what he was feeling. I was even watching the shit he normally watches, and whether that was me channeling his emotions, and then because I took on his emotions, I was taking on his likes and what he likes to watch and shit like that, or was it in universe trying to tell me that, you know, well, the way you're feeling is because Justin's feeling this because you hung out with him every day, so you took on his energy, so you guys have his link right now, and he's feeling all these emotions, so they're not your own. And, you know, whenever I'm feeling the emotions, couldn't figure it out, well, so I watched alien shit, and he's the one person I know that watches that, or, you know, at one point watched that more than anything else. And, you know, I would subtly try to tell him that, you know, find the message, but don't necessarily think these are real entities and shit like that. They could be just using this because it speaks to you. You know, the more flashy, the more crazy it is, the more it grabs your attention. And, you know, it doesn't matter how they grab your attention as long as they get the message in there. You know, they make something that you can watch, something that'll catch your eye, whether it's because it's ridiculous or because it's nice or pretty or beautiful or well put together or a piece of art, whatever the case is. Then they slide the message in there. So they catch your eye so they can slide you a message. So I always try to tell him that subtly, and I don't know if he ever got it, but, you know, recently he told me he's not focusing on that anymore because he knows whether it's true or not, it's not going to help him towards whatever he wants. That was huge. So, but the point I'm trying to get at is just that, you know, maybe it's not me channeling, or not channeling, maybe it's not me feeling his emotions so much as something trying to tell me that he was in trouble. Either I should go see him, or the reason I was feeling like that is because, you know, I knew he was in trouble. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to tell you, this is where this all came from. So while feeling these emotions that I believe came from my friend when he was in trouble, I started watching this alien stuff. And then I kept going. I kept watching it. So then I signed up for a free week of Gaia because all the videos I previously recorded that I found other places have recently all been deleted, hacked, virus, something weird fucked up happened to my computer and it went down a while back. Never really got into too much of it because I didn't really want to say that or admit it, but, you know, there it is. I admit it. I got hacked and someone got rid of a lot of stuff that I recorded and was going to put on there whenever the time was needed, because there's a lot of things on Gaia that you can't find other places, but you can find a lot of it on YouTube, and you can find a lot of it from downloading from different places and third parties and different things like that. Even downloading different hacks and software hacks and shit like that, giving you certain codes for whatever. It's an easy way around it. But anyways, so I signed up for the week of Gaia so I can see more of that Linda Mold thing, in which I got to cancel today so they don't charge my PayPal or my card. But anyways, that's besides the point as well. But all that to say that, you know, something was fucking going on, and, you know, I couldn't figure it out because I'm not that involved yet. I can't start feeling anxiety and think, hey, Justin's in trouble, I better go see him. No, that's not how it works. And that could be completely wrong. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that's what happened. I'm just going to, you know, hope.
You know, that's to me, and to me that's how it works. You know, right now, that's the meaning behind it. That's what I derive from it, is that, you know, all these things happen to show me that I'm on my way. I'm not there yet. By any stretch of the imagination am I, you know, evolved, enlightened, and, you know, telepathic and super empathic, and I can know when my friends are in trouble, you know, because it happened after he got picked up. So even if I would have went down to see him, if I would have figured it out right as soon as I started getting anxiety, I mean, I would have been too late. And, you know, but I did, even after having all those feelings, not going to see Justin, having the feeling that, you know, I should go see him, and then the feelings of, and then watching the alien stuff, and all that anxiety, you know, it's, let's pretend I am enlightened and this is all what it meant. Well, I never fucking put it together until he called me, you know. So, like, what I'm trying to say is by no stretch of imagination am I enlightened enough, transformed enough, or, you know, mystical, powerful, fucking witch, magically inclined enough to discern those things from that. But that being said, it's still, you know, like I said, it could be completely not interconnected. I think it is, but it can be not completely interconnected. This is not the first time this has happened with him. I've told you before with me and my wife. I mean, it's a big variety of things, but it tells me that, you know, I'm on my way. Also, I need to clear my energy more, because it's not useful to me to feel someone else's emotions like that and have it fuck up my day. You know, as much as I don't like that he got picked up and shit like that, you know, that's his issue. You know, and I did everything within my power to help and, you know, giving him rides and stuff like that because I don't want anything bad to happen to him. He's got a little fucking girl. And I think he's a great person. He's you know, do anything for anybody kind of guy, you know. He's demonstrated that time and time again with me. And, you know, he's loyal. He doesn't, you know, he's not one of those backstabbing friends. He's a great friend. So I'll do anything for him. But at the same time, I don't need to have his energy on me when I go home and thinking his thoughts, feel what he feels. So, transmute that and help it. But I didn't know that at the time. I said that before, you know, you pick up people's energy, you feel that energy, you take that energy home with you, and you fucking turn it into a happy fucking energy. And you'll, by taking that person's energy, you know, you will literally change it, and you'll make them feel better. It's hard to do that when you're with them, I find anyways, for me. It could be different for other people. You might be able to, depending on the circumstances, if the person is having a really hard time of it, like fucking really hard time, things are really fucking bad, well, the only thing you're going to be able to do is empathize with them, and, you know, talk to them down and tell them you understand, say everything you can do to help, and maybe offer some advice. But in the long fucking run, once you get home, you can help transmute that. Because while you're with them, thinking about that stuff, you know, taking on their energy is enough. You need to go somewhere else when you're away from them, you know, take on that energy, and then from there, you change it. Whether it's you visualizing that situation that happened, you're changing the outcome, you're changing some of the facts and the things that happened prior, whether you just putting a good I just beat the horn. Oh, fucking everybody's staring at me. Oh shit. Parked talking to my car and then I draw attention to myself. Sorry. Anyways, there's many ways to do this and it's gonna depend to you. But I don't want to be so vague and just say, yeah, you take on their energy, transmute it, and then there you go. Because that doesn't give you anything. Well, what does transmute mean? Well, to me, I don't know the definition, but to me, when I hear transmute, when I hear empath, when I take on someone's energy and I take it home, if I can identify it, that's the first thing you need to do. You need to realize, okay, am I having a bad day or is someone else having a bad day and I'm picking that shit up? Who was I around recently? Who was I around more than anybody this week? Who, you know, whatever. Anyways, and then, you know, if you don't have any problems or any reason to be anxious or pissed off or, you know, unhappy, and you are, well, then something's going on. So a lot of people will think, okay, maybe there's something wrong with them mentally, maybe there's something wrong with them physically, like a disease, shit like that. But, you know, some of that may be true, some of it might not be true. It's irrelevant. You should do everything you've got to do first before you go to that step. But anyways, and then once you realize, okay, well, this might be this person, this might be this person. You know, but let's just assume you can identify it at least, okay? Which is not an easy step on its own, but, you know, it's nothing for me to say anyways. I mean, there's not much more I could tell you, and I'm trying my best not to be vague because I hate vague spiritual people that tell you, okay, you got to do all these things, but then they don't tell you how to do them. And then when they have a video about how to do these things, it's more vague fucking bullshit, you know? It's just terrible. Just terrible. I was in this video the other day on Higher Self, and, you know, the girl had some good information. But she was talking about people and their fake symptoms, and if you're having fake awakening signs, and it's like, fake awakening? Like, really? You're going to say that? You're going to put yourself on a pedestal by telling people they're having fake awakening signs? And what she did was say, okay, well, if you're seeing numbers like 1313, or, you know, instead of saying all the 111, 222, 444, 333, you're seeing these weird numbers like, you know, and it was just stupid. It was just stupid. She probably doesn't even know what she's doing, so I'm not faulting her. But, you know, like, the problem with these ascension numbers and symbols and signs, they're a great thing. And if you're not ready to see them, you're not going to see those videos, and you're not going to see those. You're going to think they're still wish numbers and shit like that, and you're just going to go forth and, you know, you're just going to think that. You're going to think they're just wish numbers. But if you do manage to, you know, start your awakening path, and then you find a video like that, well, it's for a fucking reason. And whether it's because you're awakening, you're on the ascension path, or whether it's because whenever you get a new car, you start seeing all the other cars because you have that car now that's in your mind. This is yours, and you start seeing them everywhere. Whereas before, you never paid attention to Dodge journeys because you had no reason to. Just like before you heard That 111 is the gateway. It's the gate to the enlightened. It's your first sign of your transformation. It means that you were chosen for this and that. Okay, so all that other crap is just crap. But it's telling you that when you see these numbers, it's associated to this. So it tells your mind that, oh, I'm a chosen one if I see these numbers. So it makes you see those fucking numbers all the time. Doesn't matter how. It makes no difference to your mind, your subconscious, when you look at the clock. Let's say you're predisposed to look at the clock 12 times a day. Well, now instead of looking at the clock at, different times, like always at like 12:30 and 1, quarter 2, shit like that, you're going to look at it when it's 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. But all that is not to say that what people are saying about these numbers aren't a glitch and all this other shit. It's to say that because you were ready for this step, because this step is the next step, okay, this is an identifier of the step. But it doesn't matter if it's because your mind is now looking at it because it wants to look for it, because it wants to be that. You had to be ready for that step to happen in the first place. I hope I'm saying this right. It's kind of similar to this whole chicken and egg thing I like to refer to over and over again, okay? What I mean by these ascension numbers being specific and special is simply that when you start seeing them, you don't start seeing them first and then you watch the videos telling you, oh, it means this. Of course, that is true in a sense that you've been seeing those numbers off and on throughout your life. But, when you're looking for a wish chip, you're going to find the wish chip. When you're just hungry eating them, you're really not going to notice, And when I'm butchering this, but the point is, you start seeing those numbers because you reach a certain plateau and you were meant to see those videos, you were guided to see those videos. That was the best way for whatever driving force is trying to reach you to get you to transform and go down this path. Well, it was the path of least resistance. That was the first step that would do the most benefit to you with the least amount of harm and, the most amount of gain, basically. So you saw that video, and then after you saw that video, you start seeing those numbers. So that, you might be having a shitty day, and then all of a sudden, instead of looking at the time and thinking like, oh, fuck, I'm running out of time, or, oh, man, it's almost time for work, that gives you a fucking 1111. So not only does it remind you of spirituality and all that, it also helps you forget that, all the bullshit that you're about to fucking think and worry about. It helps you out, and it doesn't matter what meanings people tie to them. Obviously, they do have some relevance because people are going to put energy into that. But for the most part, just if you think it's too much whenever you try to look at, okay, what does 111 mean? What does 52 mean? What does 333 mean? Okay, well, for someone to tell other people what they mean, it's irrelevant. What you need to do is possibly, there's one they say, like, whatever you're doing now, pay attention to when you see these numbers. I've heard that with a few of them, so that's kind of what I do with all of them. One is specific, two is specific, beginnings, three. What you should do is maybe find some numerology books and see what just the basic 1s, 2s, and 3s mean, okay? And then from there, you derive the meaning. If, multiple books have the same definition, and you can even probably just watch videos of people that read the books. They give you these definitions, and then from there, you can, with what was happening when you saw those numbers, figure out what it means. But at the very base level of this synchronistic event, when you start seeing these numbers, when you're drawn to the videos that talk about these numbers, okay, it's a sign that you are starting to do your transformation, ascent, initiation, whatever. It's a sign that, okay, something's going to happen, okay, and you're not going to just start off with, because what's the one you're going to see the most, all right? What's the one you're going to see the most? Well, it's going to be the ones, right? Because we have 1 o'clock, we have 11 o'clock, you know what I mean? And then there's also the 11s and every other thing. There's ones with there's ones in 12s, there's ones in 10s, you know what I mean? So you're going to see the one the most. So 10-10 might be your first one, or all 1s, 3 1s, you know what I mean? Those are going to be, your first ones. Most likely, the odds are better because there's ones everywhere. It doesn't mean you're not going to see 444 before you see the 1111, but you might not have noticed the 1111 you saw before that. All I'm trying to say is that you're more likely to see 1s before you're going to see the 2s, and you're more likely to see the 2s before you see the 3s. And once again, you got a 2 and the 2-2-2-2, which happens twice a day, just like the 11-11 happens twice a day, plus the 1-1-1 as in 1 o'clock
you'll have that twice a day. So it's 4 times a day you see those ones. Then you see them in the 10s, the 11s, and the 12s, or the 10s and the 12s rather, sorry. So there's way more ones. And then 2 is the next number that has more, because you have 2s, obviously, with the 222 that happens twice a day, but you have it in the fucking 12s as well, you know what I mean? And then from there, the 3 would be the next number, but that's pretty much it. The only other number would be 0 that you can see with everything else, but you can put meaning in that, that's up to you. But when someone comes on here and says there's fake ascension signs, that you're seeing, okay, and if they're not careful how they fucking word that and start telling you that these specific numbers mean something other than what they actually mean, because they don't have a fucking clue. Well, they're doing the same thing as that other thing does, but doing it in a damaging fucking way. Who are they as some spiritual fucking advisor to tell you that 1313 means something other than it means? Because what is 1313? Okay, someone tells, let's just think about this for a second. 13 is what? 1 o'clock, is it not? Alright? When it goes from 12 o'clock, you go to military time. That's the only way you're going to see 1313. Well, 1313 is 1 fucking o'clock. So that means that would be 1. You know what I mean? Or the other 13 really represents the number 13, which breaks down to a 4. You know, which breaks down to 4 fucking 1s. So you got the 13 means 1s and a 4. That's 14. That means 5. However you want to look at it, you can break it down over and over again. But 13 is not bad number. You got 2 3s there, 2 3s there, and 2 1s there. That's a significant number. You got the gateway, and you got the fucking 33, which also means 6. And then you got the 2 1s, which make 8, which means Mercury. So fuck off with that bullshit. Any fucking number that means something means something. You can't fucking go around telling people that, okay, well, these are the fake ascension systems. I mean, it's just creating a thought form. And I don't mean thought form as entity. I mean like a fucking fad, a new fucking stupid popular thing that people are going to go around and say, oh yeah, what numbers you're receiving in. Set people up. They're like, oh, they'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll say 13, 13. Oh shit, 13, 13, that means you're not really ascending. That's a fake ascension. I've seen it. These people talk about it. You didn't know that? Holy fuck, then you're really behind. You know what I mean? Just a way for people to go above other fucking people. And that's fucking horseshit. I can't stand shit like that. What the fuck is the point of being in a spiritual movement where you're supposed to be transforming yourself, and then you come on you go on YouTube or wherever else and you start cutting people down by trying to put yourself above people, by thinking you fucking know something, and you're just arrogantly fucking dumb. You know what I mean? The fact that you think you know that means that with no fucking anything backing it up. Okay, and I got nothing against people that channel and get information from channeling. But when they pass that information off as it's fucking the word of fucking angel, you know, whoever or whatever entity, that pisses me off. And if that's their only fucking source of info, that pisses me off. Because first of all, why would we trust you? You know what I mean? We don't have to trust you. Anybody can say these fucking words. But I'm not one to think that you can't channel, because I say it all the time. It's definitely possible. It's definitely something you can do. But, it depends on your programming. No one should take their channeling and apply it to anybody else. You can take your channeling and make a message and say what you channeled and say it for people to hear so they can interpret it the way they want to interpret it and take it whatever way helps and benefits them. But to come on there and take your channeling or so-called channeling and fucking say that, oh, everybody who sees this or does this is fucking wrong. You know, that's no fucking angel or any helper that wants humankind to ascend is gonna fucking say something like that. They're not. They'd be more likely to say, even though there might be a bad meaning behind that, that's a good fucking sign because you're seeing something. So if you're having a fake ascension, well, what happens after the fake ascension? You get the real ascension because you start trying. You know what I mean? That would be the right thing to say. But, you know, like I said, I'm not trying to be mean to this woman, but it just pisses me off because people think they're helping. You know, she could be somebody who's fake, so I don't know. But, you know, I think she's trying to help. So I don't want to be too mean. And maybe, you know, she just wants to make a video. She didn't know what to make, and that was the idea that came to her. And wow. Sorry, I'm looking. I just parked at a gas station to put the gas in and wash my car, and I'm looking at. I thought I saw the word demonology. There's a street, and it's Demontigny, but I just saw the demon, and then I thought it was an L. Demonology, because there's a G and Y. Demontigny. It's DOMONTIGNY. DEMONTIGNY, right? So from far though, that L, the T looks like an L, the I didn't look like an O, but then the G and the Y, right? So I'm like, holy fuck, do we have a street called Demonology? But it's de Montigny. But anyways, wow, that's just probably another word for demonology. But anyways, which is kind of a weird synchronicity. But anyways, all right. So I just got my gas. All right. So I'm in the car wash now. But anyways, I'm about to yeah, this is weird with the demonology thing. My buddy in front of me just won a fucking $20 on that poker, like I said, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, so not to tear anybody down, because that's not my point, and I don't know why I got onto that topic, and I'm not even gonna try to fucking think of it. I'm so sick of going back and having to be like, why the fuck did I start talking about that? But if you're seeing 1313, don't let anybody tell you that's a fake ascension. So now, anyways, back to the whole transmuting thing, because that's how I got onto this topic, to transmute someone's energy, because I was talking about how I believe I took on my buddy's energy, and I was getting signs, not only his energy, like, well, his energy was affecting my thoughts, because I couldn't think, and I wanted to, watch something, wanted to do something, and I was having trouble doing stuff. So, I was cleaning up, and my wife was sleeping. I was trying to keep her asleep, trying to keep the girls upstairs playing, and I was trying to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me at the same time. But I was embodying his persona, his identity, his emotions, his thoughts, his fears. I had all that energy going through me. And like I said, I don't know if this is accurate or not. This is how I interpret it. But to me, it's a good. It's not all bad. It's not all good. It doesn't. I'm not trying to say I'm fucking a super empath, because it wasn't pleasant whatsoever. It wasn't a great thing. I'm not chalking this up. I don't like when people cut down empaths, but I don't like when people pretend to be an empath. It's fucking awesome. It's only great if you use it to your benefit. I try to do my best to do what I can do, but sometimes you don't even know. And if we're taking on people's energies, other people's energies, we don't know, then, where are our energies coming from? Are we just conduits? Do we just take people's fucking energies and roll with it in the day? Or was there a specific entity that was getting him, and then when I hopped in the car that day before, he got pulled over, it fucking latched on to me. Part of it, separates or something. That's something crazy I could just make up and go with, but I'm not going to do that because, that wasn't the point. But, so the whole 1313 being a fake ascension, or I forgot how she worded it, but it was like basically it was along the lines of fake ascension path on your wrong or fake ascension path. But that was the word she used, something to that effect though. So it's basically creating a fucking different something that, okay, ascension is for certain types of people. Here are the signs that ascension is, because these are all the signs I got, these are the signs everybody gets, and if you get these signs, and anything like these signs, then you are on a fake ascension path. It's like, no. Just because these things happen to you, and that's what you think is ascension, doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean a fucking thing. Everybody is fucking different. Everybody experiences things at different times, and who the fuck are you to tell anybody what the fuck they should feel and how things work and the like, It's not up to you to fucking do that or say any of that. Like, that's just idiocy, heresy, stupidity, whichever one you want. It's all the fucking above, man. I'm telling you, it's not cool. Don't like people doing this shit whatsoever. It drives me insane. I fucking can't stand it. But, anyways, and try to get off this high horse there and stop being all angry. But this is what I was talking about at the beginning. But anyway, so transmuting someone's energy. I'll try to finish it up since I started it, and it's a good thing to talk about. To me, if you finally identified that you had someone else's energy, or let's just say you were with somebody and they were telling you they were going through a hard time, so you decided, to make a preemptive strike instead of just going home and then, being affected by it later, then you just decide to, okay, well, instead of being affected by it, I'm just going to take
that idea, sit down and meditate on what he's going through, visualize the scenario how I would see it, and use that to color my judgment and come up with a new outcome, come up with a resolution. You know, maybe if you work with a deity, to fix it. You don't have to do any of this. You can just meditate and say simply that I know this is not my energy, or, well, don't use negatives, okay? But, you know, if I use negatives, that's not how I word it for spells, so don't think I'm on fake, because again, if you use no negatives, then I go use negatives. Well, all I'm going to say is, you can meditate, and, you know, before you go home, and let this energy affect you. You deny it, you banish it, reject it, you put up a shield, you cleanse your energy, you know, you fucking take everything out of your fucking auric field. And to say that doesn't mean you don't think that literally, like there's something in your auric field, but it's a symbolic representation of the energy you pick up from people, the feelings, the emotions, okay? Is there really a big fucking colored bright light around you? And then when you pick up someone's energy, there's a fucking tie there, or a fucking cord, as people like to call it? I don't fucking know. But what I do know is these things represent that shit, and these things actually help whenever you see that cord that ties you and somebody else, and you cut that. If you visually see that, and you do that enough, you will cut ties with certain people. You will stop feeling things. Likewise, you want to feel things that other people feel. You want to have a connection to somebody, and only do this if you like are married or your family members or whatever, because you don't, you know, at first you might do it and you might think, oh, this is bullshit, and you might stop doing it, and that's probably the best thing you can do. It'd be like your mind's giving you a second chance to change that line of thought, because, man, that's not something I don't think anybody wants. But if you think you don't have any empathic fucking bones in your body or energies or anything like that, well, it's a good way to do it. You know, you want to manifest something, do that every day, fucking write sigils that you want to have a connection to somebody, feel what they feel to help them out through whatever, and then, you know, do visualizations that you and this person are attached by any sort of cord, and, you know, and then visualize yourself seeing what they see once this cord is attached, you know, and make sure, you know, you can unattach it, shit like that, obviously, but, and once again, this is symbolic. Now, does that mean it doesn't create something in the astral plane? Well, I'm a firm believer in what you can imagine happens. And not only in the sense of anything you can imagine, it can be done and will like manifest in your life, but anything you can magically perceive of, whatever you do in your head will happen in your life. And whether you see it or not is irrelevant. So, like, let's say you make yourself have a big aura that will fucking protect you. You know, you're visualizing that. Well, while you're visualizing that, you will be protected. Now, when you stop visualizing that, are you still protected? I don't know. I think for that, you have to get it deep in the subconscious for that to work. But simply put, whatever you see in your mind, you can see the colors, you can see everything in your mind. And it's funny because when you close your eyes, you can't see fuck all. But then for some reason, especially, I mean, people vary in the skill, because some people are really good at imagining things, like see faces, see whatever, you know, because like I can put my eyes open, I can remember.
So in closing on that thought about opiates and all that, and getting on to the spiritual channeling process, before I get into that and close, in closing, I want to just say that I'm going to do much research in the way of opiates and your opiate receptors, and how the release of endorphins, and what's the best way to get those releases of endorphins for anybody who is on opiates naturally. And not only that, if you are on something that might fuck it up, or it has stopped for you, the best way to get it started, I'm gonna set that as one of my goals of finding that knowledge. And with using magic, it shouldn't take much long. During this process of just making this episode, at the beginning, I started off by saying something to the effect of, as soon as I find it, you guys will be the first to know. And, just with what I just found and what I know through experience, to a certain extent, I already know of one way, but it's something that's very hard to do. And you know. But like I just said in the last, I don't know, last 10 minutes or so maybe, the fact that when I was dope sick, if I could jump up and be fine knowing I was picking up dope. I can go to work if I knew there was a dope dealer there. Anytime I knew I was going somewhere where there was dope, I could push off and not not go through withdrawal. You know, I could actually beat the withdrawal. I could get through it, you know. There's a reason they say this shit's all in your head. Well, it actually is all in your head. But you have to be able to use your head properly. And if you are going through withdrawal, it's very hard to say, you know what, I'm not going to go through withdrawal, I'm not feeling withdrawal. And even if you know magic, it would be very hard to do magic, get up and make a sigil and shit like that when you're going through a dope sick fucking situation. Absolutely, positively, very fucking hard. Now, this would probably have to be planned, but if you want to stop, because if you don't have to take my word, but there's a TED Talk where this guy talks about how he was addicted to opiates, and he went and he didn't know, he broke something, okay, he got put on pills, he was on pills, and I think he was taking 150 milligrams of, I don't know if it was Oxy or what, I'm pretty sure it was Oxy, but either way, it was opiates a day. He was taking 150 milligrams of some kind of opiate pill, morphine, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Doctor says too much, we gotta start talking about tapering you off. And the taper off was too dramatic. And then he goes through the first 4 weeks of withdrawal, basically. It might even be longer than that, because, you know, 150 milligrams. For all the shit he was going through, I believe, you know, wanted to kill himself by the 4th fucking week, because it'd be better than what he was going through. And, you know, I mean, the first week I think was the worst, and then the second week is even more worse, and then you think it can't get worse, so you kind of manage it, and then boom, it gets even worse, and then from there it's like, man, it can't get any worse, but then it does. If you want to kill yourself, fuck it, man. Like when he said that, I was in tears because he was in tears, because I fucking remember my own, and then I'm fucking doing that whole empath thing and picking up on his fucking shitty time, so I'm getting his fucking shitty time, and I'm reliving my shitty time, and man, it's fucking shit. I don't wish it on anybody. It fucking sucks. So it's one of those things that I want to help every single person, and I don't care if they've robbed me because of opiates. I would still try to fucking help them, because you're not you, especially with now that I know that this part of your brain is all fucked up because of the opiates. You've overstimulated it to the point that you can't feel regular emotion like other people. Your reward system, by being around other people, going to a job, all this shit is not it anymore, because the only reward system now that matters is getting an opiate or not getting an opiate. Not getting an opiate is the negative emotion on fucking steroids or opium, and getting opium is normal. It's no longer a high anymore. This is why you see so many people overdose, because they're trying to feel a high, when all that now is happening is when they take a dose, they're becoming normal. You know, for the first hour they might feel something, and then it may become the first half an hour, but they are only coming back to normal when they take the pill. So it's brutal, or snorted, or injected, or whatever the case is. That's why you see people injected. Why people kill themselves? Not only because of that, but I mean, when it comes to overdose, it happens often because they're trying to get high, and you know, their body will just go from that normal feeling to shutdown mode, like not overdose, but go to sleep, and without ever getting a high, you know. But what's the alternative? Going through withdrawal? Technically, from withdrawal to feeling normal is now the high, and unfortunately, that's what you have to look forward to, which kind of sucks. So the only other way to get high, and in my book, this is better, but it's not fucking good. No one should do it. But what I did was I started using, when I was at that point, before I got on Suboxone, I started using Coke. Well, you know, I used Coke in the past. I really liked Coke, but I stopped using Coke, and I traded it for opiates. And then I realized Coke is way better for you than opiates. Not any good better for you though. Like, it psychologically fucks you up, cocaine, because when you're on the downer from cocaine, you're psychologically fucked up in the sense you think cops or someone's gonna come in and kill you or stab you, and to the point that, and then the next part of the downer is even worse, because you still have a little bit of that, but then you feel like you let down everybody, because even though they don't know, think about all this dumb shit you ever done and how much you've hurt people, and it's just brutal. But It's nowhere near thinking that and going through withdrawal, and then that's like your first week, but then the next 2 to 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and everybody's different, but then you won't care about letting people down, and you will do anything to get high. And depending on your temperament, where your morals are, you may do some pretty bad things, and other people might just cross over some lines that aren't so. But at a certain point, eventually you'll do whatever it takes. And I've never gotten too bad. And I mean, I've stolen from people, and I've stole from loved ones, but then told them about it, unfortunately, and that was hard to do. But I had to, because I really wanted them to trust me again, and prove worth it in the end. But man, I put that fucking conversation off as much as I possibly fucking could. And it was what it was, but that just to say, all this is just to say that it's terrible. And the one guy on the TED Talk that I'm talking about, he said he finally gave in, and he convinced his wife that he would only take whatever was necessary to take to fucking feel normal again. And she said, okay. And then they went to the doctor, and they got a prescription, and he put him on the counter, and then he was able to sleep for the first time in I think a week and a half at this point. And then he went to sleep, and when he woke up, he wasn't feeling that great at all. But the thought of taking that opiate pill that, would probably make him worse and keep us going, it means he has to be on this pill for the rest of his life, knowing that he can't get off it, was even more scary than going through that day's withdrawal, basically. And he decided to not take it. So, but what I want you to focus on is the fact that before this, he wasn't able to go to sleep for this week. And then he picked up the pills, got the pills, and then he was able to sleep, boom, without taking them. He didn't take them. He didn't fall asleep because he took the pills. He fell asleep because those endorphins were released into his system. And because they were released into his system, he was able to finally go to sleep because, that connection happened because he had those pills. He reached his goal. By reaching his goal, he had those endorphins released that were like that were connected to that. I went to fucking Benson Center. My bad, man. So, yeah, what I mean by he was able to go to bed finally, and, the release of endorphins, it's kind of just it's a mix between what Jordan Peterson talks about, how when you set a goal, or and you're a university student trying to get your degree, or right, then all of a sudden they get this inspiration, and then those endorphins are released, and they're in that happy emotion, and that happy emotion keeps producing more, and it keeps that connection going. Well, that is no different than what someone experiences when they take those pills, except they could be doing a job they hate, but they take those pills and they have that connection going, so they love their job even though it sucks. And then you can just imagine how when you try to go to that job after an experience like that, how shitty it must be. Because if you made it better with drugs, then you go back to it without those drugs, and those things aren't releasing. You have no your system for your reward system basically is what this comes down to. This part of your brain is like the reward system, right? Good reward equals those releases of endorphins and all that. And not only that, sometimes the reward system is just releasing emotion, which could be gossiping, negativity, complaining about yourself, can help and have that connection also be drawn, and you get a type of those endorphins come through. That's kind of what I was trying to talk about earlier when I was talking about the negative emotion, and it can even help people. It's a healing process sometimes. Hopefully you're not hurting other people or knocking or tearing people down, but that can be the case. Like I said, some people get addicted to their negative emotion, and they don't think they'll ever reach their goals. So it's easier to just follow those impulsive pleasures, because every time you get money and you see something you want, and then you eventually attain that thing you want, well, you get that little spike of dopamine, which is basically opium, dopamine, opium. A lot of the same letters in those fucking words. I'm telling you, it's not a coincidence. Fuck. Dopamine, opium. They're very similar, and there's a reason for all this shit. But, dopamine's the way of talking about this shit without people knowing that those systems are the same fucking thing. And this is what's happened. This is what happens. But what I'm trying to get at is the man that bought those pills after 4 weeks of tapering off his dope. The last week was the week he had absolutely no dope, no pills. And he cut down way too drastic, from 150 milligrams. I don't know if it was the 5th week or the 4th week. That was the last week. But even if it was the 5th week, he did 4 weeks on a lower dose, even lower dose, and then nothing. Okay, even if that was the case, that is way too fast for 150 mils. Because I know people that are on 50 milligrams and they would only drop 5 a fucking day. And I think normally it's 10 a day is the like maximum you drop on something like methadone, oxy, fentanyl even. Okay, and I think 10 is the max. And it's probably because of cases like this. Doctors didn't know, right? They don't know. If they can't know what they know, that what they don't know, right? They just assume it's like any other pill. But point is, when he bought those pills and had them on his dresser, when he got that release, being that he wasn't like necessarily a dope fiend addicted over time, which is something that there's another woman who has Tourette's, who explains that Tourette's syndrome is also in the same part of the brain that is affected by people using opiates, and affects it's that striatum or something to that effect that I was talking about earlier. And that means basically their impulsive, sporadic movements or swearing or both that people from Tourette's have is no different than something they've done their whole life, and it's very hard for them to stop and control. They say it's involuntary, but she explains how it's not so much something that's happening to her, something outside of her forcing her to do that, versus something inside of her making her do that, but she can't. And it's no different than somebody who, you know, who's been waking up every night going to get chocolate in the middle of the night like I do, or something sweet, or somebody who when they're sad they reach for the ice cream, or somebody who likes to shop and every paycheck says they're not going to spend impulsively, but then every paycheck comes and they justify it some way. It's almost like outside forces are controlling their behavior. And, you know, you can bring this right back to demonology and all these other things that say we have demons within us making us do stuff. But to me, that's victim fucking role-playing and passing the buck on to somebody else. Or you make yourself the victim of, you know, a demon attack, when really it's just a lack of knowledge that we have and haven't been given to understand. And there's so many different ways to symbolically slay those motherfuckers that there shouldn't even be an issue anymore. But they still are. But anyways, by somebody who is actually addicted to opiates, if you have any drugs, alcohols, and even chocolate in the house, all of these things register on a high level as rewards that still register to them, but long-term family relationships don't even register the same anymore, which is a weird thing, and it says a hell of a lot for substances like alcohol, drugs, any kind of narcotic, really basically is very easy for someone who's addicted to any addiction to grab for whenever they're having a hard time. It just triggers that reward system because they know it's going to alter how they feel. And to them, that's a reward, because anything is better than feeling the way they fucking feel. And sugar, chocolate on a certain level has that effect on us. It releases endorphins in your mind. It starts neuroplasticity, which is what most of us in this new age, whatever movement, magical movement, are trying to do. We're trying to turn our brains into plastic. We're trying to soften the plastic of our brain so we can recreate it and form it the way we want, which is just to say, get rid of the old programming, put in the new programming. Chocolate has a way to do that. It's a powerful substance, especially like dark chocolate is really good for your brain. But sugar in its own, soften the plastic of our brain so we can recreate it and form it the way we want, which is just to say, get rid of the old programming, put in the new programming. Chocolate has a way to do that. It's a powerful substance, especially like dark chocolate is really good for your brain. But sugar in its own, I'm not saying sugar is good, because sugar does have a lot of attributes that are very strong within us and can do some bad things, but at the same sense, there are some good things about it as well. You know, it does mimic that love feeling. It releases those endorphins, and when you're in that state, it releases emotion. And whenever you add thought to emotion, you can create and manifest things. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night already half tired, and then you're having chocolate, you're getting that reward system. It's something I do. I've been doing ever since I've been on Suboxone. I wake up every night almost to have chocolate or look for it. Maybe not every single night, but it's been a while I've been doing this, and it's very hard to stop. So then I try to find things to justify it, and I think I have things that tell me this is good for magic. So instead of trying to stop it, when I'm in those moments, I use those moments to my benefit. I'm already half in a trance like state, hypnosis, sleep, whatever theta state. I'm adding something that releases endorphins, that dopamine endorphins basically, and it's able to bring on happy emotions, and then I'm going right back to bed. That's always a happy thing for an adult whenever all the kids are asleep and you get to finally sleep and rest. So it's a great time to think about something I want to bring into my life, and boom, lo and behold, it happens. But what I'm trying to say is about the woman with Tourette's and all that was just how she was actually, she's doing great work trying to bring awareness to people with this, because to her, which this is on a bigger level, but to her, someone who has an addiction problem with opiates, it's out of their control to a certain extent, because if your body's craving it to the point where it's dangerous, because you will do almost anything to get it, because you can't stand feeling like that, because it's a terrible feeling to have a back pain that doesn't go away, or throwing up, or bad suicidal thoughts, and all this at the same time is a terrible thing to go through, and it'll make anybody do anything. You make the pope, priest, whatever guru you think is almost perfect, you get them to volunteer to do this, and I'm telling you, they would almost do it. They would probably do some things that you think they aren't capable of doing. Anybody you think is holy or pure would probably go through something, maybe not to the extent that some people do it, but if some people have no reason, no one to love, no nothing, well, what do you think is going to happen? But anyways, she's bringing a lot of awareness to this as a mental health issue, which everybody has the same issue, because anything we do over and over and over again becomes what we do over and over and over again. It's a cycle. It keeps repeating. And until you break that cycle somehow by doing something different in that spot over and over and over again, this is nothing magical. This is just simply replacing one action with another action. But it's never that simple whenever drugs are involved. But if you want to replace eating chocolate with going to the gym, and you can successfully do that for the minimum 21 days in a row, then by God, it's going to happen almost by on purpose. You're going to create that autopilot instead of going to the fridge or going to the gym. And you don't have to take my word for it. In fact, I hope you don't take my word for it and you fucking try it, because anybody that takes someone's word for something without trying it is most likely not going to fucking do it. But if you're not going to take my word for it and just call me an idiot, well, then I say, go do some research and try it before you call me a fucking idiot, because I've done it with other things that I can control, and it has worked. There's some things I haven't tried yet. I fear failing, and that's something I need to work on going forward, but everybody has those places what they need to work on. Point is, everybody and anybody can do this, but that's what she's trying to say. This is more of an illness, and it's not necessarily an illness that you're born with, but it's something that develops if you try a substance such as strong as opiates or any kind of narcotic that makes you want more, so to speak. So cocaine would be in that family, and even alcohol at a certain point can become that, especially if it's if you are somebody who's depressed or lonely or shy, and you want to be in a setting where you aren't like that. Well, then alcohol can be very good for breaking you out of your shell, and so do opiates. And at first, so does cocaine, but eventually it will make you even more quiet. But anyways, all of that is just to say that that part of your brain that makes you more impulsive also makes you more impulsive towards drugs, and makes trying to stop Tourette's syndrome even harder, and probably why, anyways, I'm getting off the point. But if you were to, so what I was trying to get at was this guy wasn't a fiend by choice. He wasn't somebody who is in a dark place, who has shitty parents, in the system, in and out of jail, and is choosing to do drugs to not feel anything. This is a man who broke his foot or his leg and was given pain pills and could not get off the pain pills. And so it wasn't out of habit he was taking these pain pills, but because he had to take them for a certain amount of time till his bones healed, and that was above 21 days a month. I think it was for like a few months. Well, he did create that habit. Therefore, when he tried to stop, his withdrawal was intense, but his resolve was stronger. And out of habit, he didn't know where to go or go try to pick up more. He stuck to his decreasing schedule, which is fucking hard to do. But because he had no prior knowledge, history, or of using, it wasn't so much in him. It's not like for the last 3 years, he's been going to pick up dope every time he was dope sick, because that became a cycle within me and everybody else who's ever been dope sick. And, you know, it's not a good thing. So this guy was very strong in trying to get off it. In that week, he had nothing. He actually made it almost a whole week until he finally gave in and went to the doctors. But the moment he had those pills, he had that release of natural dopamine, opium in his brain into those receptors, to the point where he finally fell asleep after like almost a whole week of not sleeping because of this. And when he woke up, he realized, like, shit, having them there is powerful enough for my brain to know anytime I can take them, I have them. So now I can fight this. And he was enough to fight it. So that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And it's not something that's going to be easy. And it's not even remotely close to a cure for starting your natural opiate system. For me to tell anybody who's been on opiates for less than a year, you know, but as long as it's more than a month, it's not going to be easy. To, you know, like even 10 months, 10 years, to say, hey, there's a cure, bud. Keep a bottle by your bed every night. Look at it every time you're dope sick and pretend to take one, and just, you know, it'll release it naturally. You'll be fine. Yeah, no, because you guys already have it in your system to take those pills by your autopilot basically is going to get those and take those. So the urge itself, just like smoking, the addiction is more to actually smoke a cigarette, have it in your mouth, go outside, more of a routine than you're actually addicted to the nicotine. You're actually just as addicted to going and picking up those dope pills. Hearing the rap songs about dope pills when you first get high. Listen to the same songs over and over again that make you feel good while you're doing it. You have this whole little ritual within it. I know, I've been there. So it's not going to be easy for you, and that's not sufficient enough. But for anybody who has only been subjugated to being dope sick because they broke a bone or were on prescribed medication and haven't done it for that long, then this might be helpful. But this is only after a couple weeks, or not even, I want to say I started looking at this stuff on Wednesday night. So from Wednesday night to now, I've learned quite a bit about the striatum, which is the part of the brain that's, so, you know, give me some time and I'll figure something else better. But anyways, I think I have a lot of information already given, and I haven't even got into what I want to talk about yet. So this is going to probably be one episode all on its own, and then I'm going to drop a second episode either tonight or tomorrow after all this, and then so it'll be two. And the next episode is going to be completely and utterly about the contact from aliens versus, you know, spirits talking to people, channeling, and how they're all the fucking same. From the one person who's just writing a book and getting all these inspiration ideas that they don't even know where they're coming from, to the guy who says, I got abducted by aliens and this is what they told me, you know, like guys like Grant Morrison and Aleister Crowley and the like. And, you know, these are all the same things. Even Aleister Crowley straight up says it. You know, the Holy Guardian Angel is, you know, like another being or something like that. And that depends on where you look at it, because there's different stories. Some people say different things. But anyways, I think that's enough for right now. I really got to get into that other part, because that's what I want to focus on, because I think there's a reason I couldn't stop looking at stuff about that for the last few weeks. So that's really what I want to talk about, not about opiates and the opiate system that's naturally produced in your body and all this. But this is something near and dear to my heart, because not just for me, but a lot for me. I don't want to be on the things I'm on right now to begin with, and I want to get off that eventually. And, you know, to me, it'd be more easy to start my natural system than to take a pill for the rest of my life to just suppress any other opiates and, you know, whatever the case is. However, because we do have a natural system in our body, it is healthier to take opiates your entire life, like I said, because it's more natural to your body. It's not foreign to your body. It's in a symbiotic relationship with your body. Your body is used to that feeling, and it works well with that feeling. However, there are some catch-alls or some side effects or some catches that come with that, you know. It's not a perfect system by far, and I can start rhyming off those things. And, you know, depolarization is kind of something that it comes naturally about taking naloxone, because because you can't, naloxone is present in every pill I take, but there is an opiate in there as well. And I was always under the assumption, okay, the naloxone suppresses and maybe removes some opiums from my body, maybe, and then, you know, that little bit of opium is enough to keep me from being dosed there. But then when I researched what Narcan, naloxone does when you give it to somebody who's having an overdose, sorry, just door opened up again. It said basically what it does is it fills that gap in between the opium receptors and where all the opium directly goes to. So this is where your natural opium goes to when you have that release of endorphins, whenever good things happen to you, you fall in love, blah, 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 blah. Same sense, whenever you take opiates, it goes right to there because that's where it attacks. But that suppresses all these different places in your body that are in charge of fighting off pain. And it does it simultaneously. It doesn't just do one at a time. And the doctor can give you one version of opiates and it will attack all these different places in your body for pain, from the brain's telling it goes right to the brain to tell everywhere in the body this person doesn't feel pain, basically. Whereas in the past, other pills won't do that. They go either directly to the source, but then it takes a while to get to the brain. And I'm butchering that a bit because that's not exactly how it is, but it's pretty complicated, and I'm not a fucking med student. But from what I understand, by going right to that spot, that tells basically your nervous system and any other system where it's being attacked and told that it's painful, it goes right to there, and that fights off all the rest. It's the fastest way simultaneously to tell the body that you don't have any pain. But because of that, that's what's problematic. So because the naloxone, the Narcan that you give somebody who's having a overdose, well, it pushes those opiates out of there and it fills that gap. So there's something there. So it seals that place. So the person I forget why it has to go there, but it's attracted to the stenium and the striatum. There's something has to go there. For some reason, I can't remember what that reason is. But because it blocks your natural, and if you take foreign opium or opiates, it'll block that from coming in and it stops your natural one. So therefore, if you're on something long term, where I am, I might not necessarily be able to experience happy endorphin releasing things when good or bad things happen, because I continuously have naloxone in my system. So I always have something there telling me I don't want opiates and I don't need opiates. But it's probably not good because, it probably makes me more irritable because, and it also probably makes me even more impulsive. And, my reward system basically can only be triggered through any kind of drugs. And what I was saying earlier about cocaine and all that, well, what I was doing, because I couldn't take opiates anymore, but I still wanted the trigger of high, or I wanted to feel the reward system that I liked, which, I wasn't getting anywhere else anymore. I started doing different things like speed and Ritalin, because I could still feel that because I couldn't feel opiates. And to me, that was better to feel something like that than nothing at all, which had to stop as well. But point is, it's not always the best long-term solution. Now, if you are on opiates and you need to stop, well, I highly suggest Suboxone. Highly suggest it. I think it's a better long-term solution than even methadone, and it's easier to get off of. But, nothing is foolproof. But anyways, so that's enough about all that today. Do your research if you're interested in this. If not, I'm going to do it for you eventually. So give me some time, though, because when I research this and the more I find out about the substance I'm taking, sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, no pun intended, when you find out, well, every time that, I should have felt something and I didn't feel anything. It's like, and I was questioning, like, fuck, am I dead inside? Like, what's wrong with me? And then you see things like what I just kind of explained, saying, oh, shit, that's why. But, I have a lot of moments where, I can just tear up for nothing, and it happens pretty often sometimes. So what's that about? So I think in this case, even though there's something affecting my brain, because you don't just feel with your brain, you can feel with your heart, because empathy is a real thing, even though a lot of people don't want to admit it, because too many people are out there bragging about being an empath and trying to put themselves on a pedestal, saying I'm an empath, and these people aren't. Well, and I get that, because people shouldn't do that, period, but it is a real thing, because I have that all the time. Feeling other people's pain, sensing other people's pain and shit like that. It's really real, especially when I sense someone else's pain that I can relate to, such as Buddy in the TED Talk. But that's a trigger from something that happened to me in the past when I had those emotions, or whatever the case is. I don't know how you want to justify that, because for me it's more about impulsive and reward systems. See, reward systems release those endorphins, and for me, sad things are really happy things that I think should happen more, because in a sense it's still a sad thing to me, because something like that makes me sad, because whenever, like I say, the hero kills himself to fucking save everybody, that's sad to me, but a happy sad, right? Or somebody says something so sweet in a movie, just their parents or something that the parent hasn't heard in a while and they cry, you know what I mean? It's like, fuck. To me, the first thing is like, man, we need more of that in this life. So every time, even if it's a happy thing, it's still from a sad perception. So, but anyways, that's enough about my bullshit. Anyways, if this is the end of the episode, stay tuned for part 2. It'll be on about the whole spiritism channeling shit, and my opinion on, you know, aliens and channeling and the like. So yeah, and, you know, I'm going to be on anyways, but, you know, I like saying it. So have yourself a great fucking day. All right, so I just realized that one of my recordings I hadn't put on there, it was behind the whole pile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 30 seconds of the previous recording that I had played. I'm going to play the last 30 seconds just so you know where it was supposed to line up. My bad for this, and then I'm going to play this will be the last one of my clips. It's actually going after the last one that you just heard was supposed to be the last one. So you're going to hear 30 seconds of one of the recordings I did, the last 30 seconds, just to give you the context, and then I think it's about 15 or 25 minutes, I don't remember, and that's going to be basically the end of it. And then I think there's 2 things I recorded, one being the girl with Tourette's explaining the brain a little bit, and the end is going to be Robert Anton Wilson explaining a little bit about 2 guys, one being Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons, who was kind of like the real version of Tony Stark, and a little bit about the space program. And, you know, the full thing is probably about an hour, but I think I only have about 18 minutes of the one girl and then about another 20 minutes of that, just to finish off the episode. So anyways, sorry about this lineup fuck up, but it is what it is, and yeah, have a great fucking day. My PayPal or my card, but anyways, that's besides the point as well. But all that to say that, you know, something was fucking going on, and, you know, I couldn't figure it out because I'm not that involved yet. I can't start feeling anxiety and think, hey, Justin's in trouble, I better go see him. No, that's not how it works. And that could be completely wrong. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that's what happened. I'm just going to, you know, hope.
Faces, see whatever, you know, because like I can put my eyes open, I can remember songs and movies and see them in pretty good detail to describe things to my wife, and, you know, that's kind of something like a photogenic memory, but it's not on call like you see in the movies and shit like that, and it's not something I practice. However, if I did, I think I'd be pretty powerful, pretty good at it, but for the most part, I'm pretty good with my mind. Like I said, I used to be able to do it for tests and shit like that. Remember the day and see, but your eyes are closed. You're not seeing anything. You don't even see actual color. Like in your dream, you don't really even see color, but you are seeing color. Point is, it shouldn't be possible for you to see anything with your eyes closed, and yet you can see stuff. You can feel stuff. So whatever you see in there is probably more real than what you see now. Because what we see now is we can't even see all the light spectrum that's coming down from the sun. You know, we can't see the fucking air that we're even breathing in. We can't see all the little microbes and organisms and viruses and bacteria that are all present outside of us, above us, right around us, on our clothes. You know what I mean? You can't see any of that. You can't see the water that's in the air right now. But yet, you can see water. But in oxygen, there's water in oxygen. You know what I mean? You can't see any of these little molecules. You know what I mean? So there's a whole bunch of shit we can't see. But yet, if you close your eyes and you want to see it, you can. You'll say, well, I don't know what it looks like. Well, exactly. But if you stop limiting yourself and thinking that you can't see stuff and that you don't know what things look like, therefore you can't see them, well then, yeah, you'll never see them. But if you just close your eyes and you try to see what that would look like, something will emerge. And, you can slowly try to help yourself or picture something if you want, but, let your imagination do that for you if possible. And if you can't, then, go with what you were taught about a molecule and atom, and it'll transform and keep changing into what it's supposed to actually look like at some point. But pretty far from what we're supposed to talk about. So we're talking about aliens, entities, spiritual demons, or not spiritual demons, but demons and gods and goddesses and deities and the like, and how everybody who gets a message from anything that's something of a supernatural, whatever, whether it's an ancestor or a loved one that passed on in a dream or in meditation, to Jesus that appears to the end of your bed and the now and present, demons and the devil coming to tell you stuff, or when you die and you see the devil, okay? And now I'm going to tell you straight up, I believe that when you die and you come back to life, it's just a DMT trip. But that doesn't change the program that was put in your head. And once again, the programming in your head is gonna form and be how you see that picture. But it's not necessarily completely what speaks through that picture. All right? That's complicated. Just try to stay with me here, okay? And this is kind of what I want to talk about today, but I should have finished my other idea first, but, whatever. I'll just get right into it, I guess. But, so, if you're a Christian and you believe you were good, when you die, you're going to see God, Jesus, Mary, angels, whatever, all the saints, and they're going to welcome you and say, hey, let's go for a little tour and shit like that. And like someone will tell you straight up that, the whatever amount of time it is, before you go brain dead that you can be allowed dead, okay, is way less than the 15 minutes of the DMT trip. And that's why I know that, pretty positive anyways, that the DMT is what's producing this, but it also produces your dreams every night, and those are spiritual too. So just because DMT is a drug you can take, it doesn't make it any less worth anything. If anything, it makes it more worth something that you have this whenever you die.
So it makes it more worth something that whenever you pass away, because it's no longer a dream, right? Because here's the thing. If you died and came back to life, okay, people die and come back to life. They tell us a story, and it's happening over and over again. First of all, we can chalk that up to bullshit. We can say that. Which I don't think is true. I think they actually legitimately have this. And, some people that die and come back and have nothing that happened. That makes sense, right? Because some people dream at night and some people don't remember their dreams. So to me, it makes sense that some people would have this experience and some people would don't. And it makes sense to me that people have different experiences because people have different dreams. No one has the same fucking dream. Which, by the way, and this will be a future episode, and this will be one of the points I make, but when you die, the fact that this happens, which is very similar to a dream, which, because DMT is produced in the dream, using the third eye happens when you're in a dream, which, once again, these people that say, you have to open your chakras one at a time, start with the root and all that, and, you can't have your third eye open, and this is how you open it, and everybody's third eye's closed, or telling people how they know the third eye's closed. It's like, man, a person, if they fucking see their dreams, if they've seen their dreams recently, third eye's open, motherfucker. He fucking does that shit. So, but anyways, and like I said, this is a future episode where I'm going to be touching on, so I'm not going to go too far in depth in this, but whenever when you pass away, you have this DMT release, right? It's a massive one, but it's a big one for a reason, because you can say, well, your dreaming is no more nothing different than just having a chemical released into your brain, and you laying there thinking you're somewhere else. Okay, sure. I'll take that. I'll see. I can see the logic in that. But to me, that is more profound than anything, because you can take DMT and have this trip, and take other hallucinogens, and have this chip and have it from Earth, Mother Earth. But when you die, and like this has been told throughout history that you can take hallucinogens to initiate yourself into the secrets and shit like that, right? Over and over again we're told this. So by seeing this happen, or this happening when you die, it's, if you've never done it with a hallucinogen, if you haven't practiced being able to move around astrally and shit like that, okay? Well, whenever that last dream comes and it tells you, you know, or you have to go back to Earth, if you say you die and come back, they normally tell you it's not your time, or you see a picture of hell because you're a bad person, okay? You know, I'm going to get back to that message, but the point is, your body is finally initiating you, or showing you the truth, or whatever the case is. If you die and you don't come back, we never know what those stories are, but whenever it's not your time yet, you're clearly told that by whatever programming is alive and well inside your head, okay? Whatever programming that is, through there you get a message from something, somewhere else, that tells you it's not your time yet, or this is where you're going to go. If you don't change, you got one more chance, go back down there and be a good fucking boy, okay? So that's basically what happens, right? So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is this is a good sign of how we never really die. How, whether it's reincarnation or not evolution, but ascension, well, your body dies, but then your soul, or whatever part of you, your thoughts, your mind, kind of flows into the DMT. The DMT that's released into your mind creates this dream. Well, what if that DMT that's released into your mind, you know, into that part of you, you know, this is a very hard subject. That's why it has to be its own episode, because I got a lot of theories and I got a lot of things I need to throw out as I do this. And I'm not doing this episode now, but, you know, because you're fucking dead there, right? You know, you're not brain dead yet, but that's about to come. So the fact that you're going to be brain dead soon, if you have no oxygen for a long enough time, if you don't have prana flowing to your brain, okay, if you don't have air, all right, thoughts, if you don't have thoughts going to your brain, I shouldn't even touch this shit right now. If you don't have the thoughts going into your mind, this is how they tell us, right? But, you know, those thoughts are your mind, really. But if you don't have the air that you breathe going inside you for a certain period of time, then you can't sustain, you're going to die. But while this is happening, your brain is still active, and it's processing DMT apparently. Well, where the fuck are you when this is happening? Like, when you sleep, you go to sleep, and you're asleep, you're laying there, or you know where you are. You went to sleep, you're tired from the day. But when you die, it's something completely different. Something's happening to your body. Your physical body is having a trauma to the point where you may not be able to sustain. Your heart failed, yet you still produce DMT. That's like running your car without your car running. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, it's weird. It's like the radio's on, you're driving, but yet your alternator never kicked on to keep the car going. You know what I mean? Because your battery is not really your car. But it kind of is. The battery starts the car, but the alternator keeps it going. So yeah, maybe the battery is the fucking heart, and then like you know, your blood flow system, the heart's pumping it. It's kind of like the alternator too. But anyways, that system. Well, I have it written down better for a later episode. And if you're wondering why I won't do this episode now, it's just because to me, I have to come to a certain point for my evolution, and anybody who listens to me's evolution, I have to go online. I can't start whipping shit like this out before most of the people haven't transformed, and not even myself enough. And I want to have a good understanding of it, because I learn stuff as I do this. But anyways, so the fact that you're dying, whether it's a heart trauma, a brain trauma, which a brain trauma is really profound if you're still having a DMT release, which there are fucking cases where this has been documented. But anyways, it's just fucked up to tell you that, and it's a good sign that, you know, our dreams aren't really dreams, and the dream world might be more real than this world, because when we die from this world, we fade away into the dream world. We go hide into the dream world. It's like our backup plan. Okay, we're in this physical realm, but the dream realm. Why do people love sleep? And babies need sleep, but they want to stay awake, you know, because they're having fun playing with people and shit like that, and you can't control what dream you get. But the older you get, there's more years of your life that you want sleep than you don't want sleep, you know what I mean? But anyways, I guess I'm going to just leave it there for now, because I'm going to keep going over and over and never touch my topic. But the back to this DMT release into your brain, okay? I'm going to get off the topic of how it's proof that we don't really die, and instead focus on how your programming and that DMT is two things that are within your body, okay? The DMT you're born with this is a product of either evolution, but I'm pretty sure it's from the creator, whoever created us, and your programming is from your environment, your parents, someone who has this experience somewhere where they're not Christian or whatever the case is, and it might not be mostly Christianity, it's a different religion. It doesn't matter if it's Islam or witchcraft, whichever one it is. Go ahead. Whichever one it is, that's what's going to probably happen to them, even if they believe in it or not. Because people have said they're not believers, and yet it was God and Jesus that came. Well, yeah, because you programmed that. You don't have to consciously believe in Christ, but if subconsciously all you heard was Christ this, Christ that, and you say, well, I don't believe in God, but yet your subconscious heard it in and out over and over and over again. Well, obviously it's going to believe it. Obviously it's going to think that's what's real. You heard it more than anything else. Whatever you hear more, whatever stuff you get into becomes your program. So anyways, the DMT gets released into your head, and like I said, shamans think that's an initiation. It's a way to get initiated. You can see things. They help you fucking see better, evolve, a whole bunch of things, right? The plants, they give it to you. Well, plants, what are plants? You can say, well, this is something you get from a plant produced in us, but taking a plant is not good for you. Well, how do you figure? I mean, in a sense it is, because that'd be like taking the DMT from an animal. You'd be like, well, animals don't have DMT. I'm like, really? You don't think so? A plant's a living thing and it has DMT in it, and we're living things with DMT in it, so why would you assume that animals don't have it? I'm sure almost every plant might have some kind of DMT in it. Maybe it's not the case. Maybe the creator didn't give animals DMT because of the fact that we eat them all the time. Maybe that's why we cook them, and anyways, that's another episode for another time as well. Let's just stick to what I need to talk about. So, what you need to focus, whether it's someone saying an afterlife story of how they died and came back to life, or they're telling you aliens contacted them, or whatever the case is, okay? The DMT story is the same as the channeling or a dream. Like when Buddy had a dream of these beings over and over again telling him and showing him that binary code, right? You probably didn't hear the story yet, but you will after this guy. Anyways, these dreams are just reaffirming what he already saw. You can say, well, you're dreaming about it, it's nightmares, you're hearing it over and over again, because no, it's them trying to show you over and over again the code so you get it right. Assuming that's what happened. But all these things that happen, all these messages have to be interpreted by you, because if you just keep it as the interpretation of whoever's telling you, well, that gets fucked up, because if they've been programmed to believe in, there is no God, they're atheists, then, might be aliens, fucking might be, just energy, who knows. But if it's coming from a Christian, it's going to be God and Jesus. If it's coming from a quote-unquote Satanist or a Luciferian, well, it's going to be Lucifer. But it's not going to look like the Lucifer the Christians know. It's going to be like a fucking Archangel Michael looking dude. You know what I mean? That's how Lucifer looks to fucking Luciferians. Straight up. I'm not Luciferian. I've said that many times. But I think there's a lot of good things within the Luciferian doctrine, and Lucifer being the bringer of light. That's fucked up. Who brings the light? The sun. Who is the sun? The Son of God. Who is the Son of God? Jesus. The bringer of light is Jesus? Or is it Venus? Well, who is Venus? Well, some people might say it's Mary, or Mother Nature. She's Earth. Aphrodite, Astarte, Aphrodite, right? Astro, it's all coming from the same root words. They get changed to Venus along the way, but, Venus, Jesus, Mary, I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there for you. But, point is, the message you're getting is legit. The message these people are getting are legit. But The way they're telling you on TV it happened, the way someone else is retelling the story, they're putting their twist on it. And more than that, more than their conscious twist, they have it created through their programming. To them it means something. To you it doesn't mean the same something, to the point that you might not even believe it. But within that, it's still something spiritual. It's still the creator or the all speaking through that person. But they're telling that person something specific. Whether or not they actually told them to tell the world that is irrelevant. Because, I think most people say that. But really, it was just for them, and they don't want to be the only one that's fucking up or whatever. Maybe not in terms of the people that try to do it, like Grant Morrison. He just explains what's going on. But, he might have never asked, and they might have just told them what's what, and then he said this is what he wanted to all people. But that catches your attention. He's been abducted by aliens as a star. He's going on TV saying that? Like, that's fucked up, right? I've said that before. Like, it's pretty profound when you see a star tell you he's doing magic and he's been abducted by aliens. Then it makes you like, wow, he's risking all this. Okay, but that wasn't his message. His message wasn't about aliens, right? Like, most people are focusing now, and they're not focusing on the message. They're focusing on the events that happened and then speculating some other fucking event to happen instead of focusing on the message. So what was Grant Morrison's message? Well, that you can manipulate this universe, and he found the way to do it. Whether you take the drugs, whether you just use the magic or the sigils, whatever, this is how you do it. So it doesn't matter if it was aliens or fucking his subconscious mind. They're both the same, first of all. But it doesn't matter. You can say, well, how are they both the same? Well, we all have a subconscious mind. And I would take that a step further and say we all have the same subconscious mind. And we call that the collective consciousness. We think our subconscious mind is inside our brain. It's got this little dwelling place. It's just half of our brain. But that's not really how it works. That's just the way we symbolically represent it in our head so that we can put a place and think that's where it is, just so it's easy for us to comprehend. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to be able to comprehend stuff, understand stuff. But it doesn't make that like, okay, that's it. As soon as you come outside that box or someone comes with a different idea, no, that can't be right because this is the way it is. It's half your brain, it's left side of the brain, and only left side of the brain. And it's just so stupid how people think like that. Same with if there's a God, there's a devil thing I touched on earlier. Like, one, the law of one, right? Like I said, we're all people. We're all a person, but we're made up of all these different parts. I have a right hand, I have a left hand. I have a right foot, I have a left foot. But I only have one fucking nose, but you got two nostrils. All right, but I only have one mouth, but you got two lips. Exactly. There's either three, but there's always one. Everything divided by itself, what does it equal? One. You know what I mean? Like, everything, what's it start at? One. And what does it start from? One. Two people make one person. Then it turns into, falls in love, it finds another person, then it turns into another person. But we all come from one. The one. We are one. So saying that there's a God, because there's a God, there's a devil, because there's a devil, there's a God? No. They're both the same. It's just an entity that has two different polarizations, but really not at all. Because we think the bad things that happen to us are bad, yet we have the power to change those fucking things. And instead of doing that, we sit on our ass whining about it, complaining about it, and fucking not trying it, being addicted to our own sorrow. We're at the point where we even get high off our negative emotion. I mean, that's how good we got it. We get a fucking buzz from negative emotion. Like, that's fucked up, man. How fucked up is that? That's pretty fucked up.
So anyways, I'm just going to start with reading something. I can go on and on and on. I think my next thought after that would be to take it back to depression and say, why is there so much depression nowadays? Well, because we have the ability to get high off our own negative emotion. And negative emotion, you can't get rid of, whereas positive emotion, you can. It's very weird how that works, but for some reason, there's more dark than there is light, which makes, light something you look forward to because you need things to be more dark. And it's not necessarily dark, it's just how we perceive it. We think everything is dark. We think, okay, well, it sucks that I have to go to work every day and pay bills, and whenever you're in high school and you don't have to do those things yet, but you think that's the end of the world. And before high school, when you're in grade school, well, up to a certain point, you're pretty happy. But it's not until you get, probably like 7, 8, 9, or 10, maybe, somewhere around there. After you're pretty conscious at 7. But after that point, you're still pretty good and happy to go to school. But somewhere around, I don't know. Most of my boys keep fighting over who gets to leave early and go to school. So I don't know. Maybe they still want to keep going to school, just personally. But point is, we have the ability. There's a bunch of when you're gossiping, talking shit about people. When you're trying to do something and then you don't accomplish it, that's pretty down. But when you do accomplish it, that's whenever you also get a release of a really strong, positive emotion. But you get the same thing from negative emotions, just a different kind of charge, so to speak. But it's still an endorphin release, and it's still technically a high from fucking dopamine and shit like that. Which is kind of where that opium system I was talking about comes from. You have, they're called opium receptors, and it's in striatum. Yeah, I remember it was atom was the last part and stri was the first part. I thought that was pretty fascinating how it's called the striatum. But anyways, and the striatum is in charge of, among probably many more things, but as far as I can tell, it's your impulsive behaviors is controlled by this. Anything impulsive. Obviously, addiction, the release of, because you have a natural opium like endorphins or dopamine. I don't know how to characterize it, but dopamine. Let's just say dopamine shit that gets realized because your two things that are the fuck was the name I just used, the opiate receptors. Okay, the two receptors receive, right? Recept. That's negative right there, right? They're receiving something. You need something positive, so the two things receive. Well, the way they illustrate it, it kind of looks like two little endings, almost like two little, fingers, or they're receptors, but they're kind of look like a male genitalia, like a pen or something like that. But it's got a hole in it to suck things up, or it's flat on the top, depending on where you look. Anyway, so that when something happens, there's a chemical, or your endorphins are released, and then that's the dopamine spike of your natural, opium shit that happens. And that creates that, happy feeling, right? That's not necessarily the one you get when you're addicted to your sorrow. Because when you're addicted to your sorrow, because someone going through withdrawal, the more they talk about that, actually, that's not true, because I've seen people be able to talk about how shitty things are going, but I do know the positive one is more powerful, because I could be talking about how sore I was and shit like that, and I was able to do a little bit more. But whenever I was addicted to opiates, whenever I knew I was going to go get something, because if I'm going through withdrawal or about to go through withdrawal, but mostly if I was going through withdrawal, on the couch, can't move, can't go to work, can't do nothing. Buddy answers the phone. Let's say I had no money, and he was willing to front me, however. Boom. I jump off that fucking bed. I get dressed, and I'll walk, run, rollerblade, bike across town as fast as possible to get there. So, and I never understood that. Is that really how much is in the mind? And it is. But in the same sense, when you have positive emotion, when you're trying to reach a goal, when you set up an aim, okay, and this is just a short fucking impulsive aim, but it was still an aim. My aim was to get something to get rid of my withdrawal symptoms. And I wasn't getting it. Therefore, I was in negative emotion, laying down, couldn't do a damn thing. Plus, the withdrawal kept me in a perpetual state of negative emotion. And then all of a sudden, guy answers the phone. I have no money, but I get over that hurdle. He's willing to front me. Boom. Fucking release of the shit I'm just going to go buy into my head. If you could somehow mimic that over and over again, you wouldn't have withdrawal symptoms. And it's not the case that the opium, that the dope fucking keeps it going, or it's like a one and done and you're good for the day. I mean, you get like a spike, and then, anyways, that part I'm not really too fascinated about. So I don't think you could do this once and you'd be good for the day. Because if you went walk all the way there and you got your shit, well, maybe you could just not take it, and that might work. But 9 times out of 10 you're going to take it, so we'll never really fucking know. But anyway, that's just an example of how I could keep going on and on and on. This correspondence thing that I can do and keep going with correspondence is brutal because it doesn't allow me to stop and finish my points. You know, I just get going and going, and it drives me nuts. So what I'm going to do here is going to write down what I wrote initially, where a lot of this is coming from. And some things might repeat themselves, so just, you know, you're just going to hear it again, so that's cool, and then we'll go from there, okay? And then I'll dissect it hopefully after I'm done, but I might do it between, but anyways.
Broad talking all over.
What does it mean to be normal? And what does it mean to be sick? I've asked myself this question from the time I was about 7 when I was diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. Tourette's is a neurological disorder characterized by stereotyped movements I perform against my will called tics. Now, tics are technically involuntary in the sense that they occur without any conscious attention or intention on my part. But there's a funny thing about how I experience tics. They feel more involuntary than involuntary because I still feel like it's me moving my shoulder, not some external force. Also, I get this uncomfortable sensation called premonitory urge right before tics happen, and particularly when I'm trying to resist them. Now, I imagine most of you out there understand what I'm saying, but unless you have Tourette's, you probably think you can't relate. But I bet you can. So let's try a little experiment here and see if I can give you a taste of what my experience feels like. All right, ready? Don't blink. No, really, don't blink. And besides dry eyes, what do you feel? Phantom pressure? Eyelids tingling? A need? Are you holding your breath? Uh-huh. That's approximately what my tics feel like. Now, tics and blinking, neurologically speaking, are not the same, but my point is that you don't have to have Tourette's to be able to relate to my experience of my premonitory urges, because your brain can give you similar experiences and feelings. So let's shift the conversation from what it means to be normal versus sick to what it means that a majority of us are both normal and sick. Because in the final analysis, we're all humans whose brains provide for a spectrum of experiences.
I'm gonna hop in the shower while it records.
And everything on that spectrum of human experiences is ultimately produced by brain systems that assume a spectrum of different states. So again, what does it mean to be normal? And what does it mean to be sick when sickness exists on the extreme end of a spectrum of normal? As both a researcher who studies differences in how individuals' brains wire and rewire themselves, and as a Tourette'er with other related diagnoses, I have long been fascinated by failures of self-regulation on the impulsive and compulsive behavioral spectrums, because so much of my own experience of my own body and my own behavior has existed all over that map. So with the spotlight on the opioid crisis, I've really found myself wondering lately, where on the spectrum of involuntary behavior do we put something like abusing opioid painkillers or heroin? By now, we all know that the opioid crisis and epidemic is out of control. 91 people die every day in this country from overdose. And between 2002 and 2015, the number of deaths from heroin increased by a factor of 6. And something about the way that we treat addiction isn't working, at least not for everyone. It is a fact that people suffering from addiction have lost free will when it comes to their behavior around drugs, alcohol, food, or other reward system stimulating behaviors. That addiction is a brain-based disease state, is a medical neurobiological reality. But how we relate to that disease, indeed, how we relate to the concept of disease when it comes to addiction makes an enormous difference for how we treat people with addictions. So we tend to think of pretty much everything we do as entirely voluntary, but it turns out that the brain's default state is really more like a car idling in drive than a car in park. Some of what we think we choose to do is actually things that we have become programmed to do when the brakes are released. Have you ever joked that your brain was running on autopilot? Well, guess what? It probably was, okay? And the brain's autopilot is in a structure called the striatum. So the striatum detects emotional and sensory motor conditions.
What, baby?
And it knows to trigger whatever behavior you have done most often in the past under those same conditions. Do you know why I became a neuroscientist? Because I wanted to learn what made me tick. Thank you. Thank you. I've been wanting to use that one in front of an audience for years. So in graduate school, I studied genetic factors that orchestrate wiring to the striatum during development. And yes, that is my former license plate. And for the record, I don't recommend any PhD student get a license plate with their thesis topic printed on it unless they're prepared for their experiments not to work for the next 2 years. I eventually did figure it out. So my experiments were exploring how miswiring in the striatum relates to compulsive behaviors, meaning behaviors that are coerced by uncomfortable urges you can't consciously resist. So I was really excited when my mice developed this compulsive behavior where they were rubbing their faces and they couldn't seem to stop even when they were wounding themselves. Okay, excited is the wrong word. Okay, I actually felt terrible for them. I thought that they had tics, evidence of striatal miswiring. And they were compulsive. But it turned out, on further testing, that these mice showed an aversion to interacting and getting to know other unfamiliar mice, which was unusual. It was unexpected. The results implied that the striatum, which for sure is involved in compulsive spectrum disorders, is also involved in human social connection and our ability to, not human social connection, but our ability to connect. So I delved deeper into a field called social neuroscience. And that is a newer interdisciplinary field, and there I found reports that linked the striatum not just to social anomalies in mice, but also in people. As it turns out, the social neurochemistry in the striatum is linked to things you've probably already heard of, like oxytocin, which is that hormone that makes cuddling feel all warm and fuzzy. But it also implicates signaling at opioid receptors. There are naturally occurring opioids in your brain that are deeply linked to social processes. Experiments with naloxone, which block opioid receptors, show us just how essential this opioid receptor signaling is to social interaction. When people are given naloxone, it's an ingredient in Narcan that reverses opioid overdoses to save lives. But when it's given to healthy people, it actually interfered with their ability to feel connected to people they already knew and cared about. Okay, so something about not having opioid receptor binding makes it difficult for us to feel the rewards of social interaction. Now, for the interest of time, I've necessarily gotten rid of some of the scientific details, but briefly, here's where we're at. The effects of social disconnection through opioid receptors, the effects of addictive drugs, and the effects of abnormal neurotransmission on involuntary movements and compulsive behaviors all converge in the striatum. And the striatum and opioid signaling in it has been deeply linked with loneliness. Okay? When we don't have enough signaling at opioid receptors, we can feel alone in a room full of people we care about and love who love us. Social neuroscientists like Dr. Cacioppo at the University of Chicago have discovered that loneliness is very dangerous. And it predisposes people to entire spectrums of physical and mental illnesses. Think of it like this. When you're at your hungriest, pretty much any food tastes amazing, right? So similarly, loneliness creates a hunger in the brain, which neurochemically hypersensitizes our reward system. And social isolation acts through receptors for these naturally occurring opioids and other social neurotransmitters to leave the striatum in a state where its response to things that signal reward and pleasure is completely over the top. And in this state of hypersensitivity, our brains signal deep dissatisfaction. We become restless, irritable, and impulsive. And that's pretty much when I want you to keep the bowl of Halloween chocolate entirely across the room from me, because I will eat it all. I will.
Me fucking too, girl. Me
and
too.
That brings up another thing that makes social disconnection so dangerous. If we don't have the ability to connect socially, we are so ravenous for our social neurochemistry to be rebalanced, we're likely to seek relief from anywhere. And if that anywhere is opioid painkillers or heroin, it is going to be a heat-seeking missile for our social reward system. Is it any wonder people in today's world are becoming addicted so easily? Social isolation, contributes to relapse. Studies have shown that people who tend to avoid relapse tend to be people who have broad, reciprocal social relationships, where they can be of service to each other, where they can be helpful. Being of service lets people connect. So, if we don't have the ability to authentically connect, our society increasingly lacks this ability to authentically connect and experience things that are transcendent and beyond ourselves. We used to get this transcendence from a feeling of belonging to our families and our communities, but everywhere, communities are changing. And social and economic disintegration is making this harder and harder. I'm not the only person to point out that the areas in the country most economically hard hit, where people feel most desolate about their life's meaning, are also the places where there have been communities most ravaged by opioids. Social isolation acts through the brain's reward system to make this state of affairs literally painful. So perhaps it's this pain, this loneliness, this despondence that's driving so many of us to connect with whatever we can, like food, like handheld electronics, and for too many people to drugs like heroin and fentanyl. I know someone who overdosed, who was revived by Narcan, and she was mostly angry that she wasn't simply allowed to die. Imagine for a second how that feels, that state of hopelessness, okay? But the striatum is also a source of hope, because the striatum gives us a clue of how to bring people back. So remember that the striatum is our autopilot running our behaviors on habit, and it's possible to rewire, to reprogram that autopilot, but it involves neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is the ability of brains to reprogram themselves and rewire themselves so that we can learn new things. And maybe you've heard the classic adage of plasticity: neurons that fire together, wire together. All right? So we need to practice social connective behaviors instead of compulsive behaviors when we're lonely, when we are cued to remember our drug. We need neuronally firing repeated experiences in order for the striatum to undergo that necessary neuroplasticity that it allows it to take that go find heroin autopilot offline. And with the convergence of social neuroscience, addiction, and compulsive spectrum disorders in the striatum suggests is that it's not simply enough to teach the striatum healthier responses to compulsive urges. We need social impulses to replace drug-cued compulsive behaviors because we need to rebalance neurochemically our social reward system. And unless that happens, we're going to be left in a state of craving, no matter what besides our drug we repeatedly practice doing. I believe that the solution to the opioid crisis is to explore how social and psychospiritual interventions can act as neurotechnologies in circuits that process social and drug-induced rewards. One possibility is to create and study scalable tools for people to connect with one another over a mutual interest in recovery through psychospiritual practices. And as such, psychospiritual practice could involve anything from people getting together as mega fans of touring jam bands, or parkour jams featuring shared experiences of vulnerability and personal growth, or more conventional things like recovery yoga meetups, or meetings centered around more traditional